16 gig minimum for like an eternity. Apple, you stingy jerks. Oops, resale gone. Uh-oh, no longer collectible. I don't care. I want to smell a new nugget. Release the Siri. Sticking to yes. Oh, how cute. Remember when phones fit in your hand? It's such a dense nugget. Man, even this thing's an absolute dinosaur and you just see the screen situ. Now, let it be known, I support this. I don't care if it doesn't fit my pocket anymore. I want the giant screen. I mean, we'll get to the nugget in a bit. I mean, look how thick the box is. It actually comes with things. Huh. It's still got that new smell. Like, it smells brand stinking new, which is like a slight hint of plastic factory. But like in a good way, you know what I mean? Ew, an American one. This is useless to me. This is just how you start fires around here. Our wall power is just too much. Ew. Second gen Nug Buds. I mean, it's got the microphone in it. That is fun. But this is when Apple earbuds still absolutely stunk. Like, most companies couldn't get these right. Oh, and a cable. We need this. And I think that's it. Oh, I mean, the book. Oh, that old iOS. I kind of wish we can go back to it. Oh, FaceTime was a big deal. And I think at this time they actually thought it was going to be like a standard across like even Android and everything. Never happened. Typing and editing. iPhone corrects and suggests words as you type. So if you type a wrong letter, just keep typing. And like, you know, this idea of it predictively trying to guess what you're trying to say, that was a feature in 2011. Maps. Are they talking about Apple Maps? Apple Maps wasn't out yet, was it? Wasn't ruining iPhones yet. Whoa, super early iCloud. Who cares? Oh, stickers. I better not waste any of them. Oh, ooh, this is fun. My brand new Nug. Oh, no fingerprints on it yet. Oh, well, what happens if I press this? Is there anything left in it? Of course there isn't. It may not actually turn on. Oh yeah, this is when the 30-pin cables were getting really cheap. The super early ones are really thick and nice. This is kind of nasty. All right, this is wall power to start with because we're gonna wake the Nug. That's a dang good start. Very good. Look how serious the older Apple logos look. All right, it's got like a whoosh in it. It's like the linen background. Is that what they call it? Yeah, linen. Slide to unlock. Iconic. English. Makes sense. United States, I'll tolerate it. Ow. The touchscreen was freaking out and it wouldn't let me put in passwords for the Wi-Fi or anything. Not a good start. And now it's like, well, plug me into the dingus computer. Well, fine. Not good. Oi. Come on, buddy. I'm doing what you asked. Don't you die on me. No. Why? Why now? I was just using you. You kidding? My nugget. I was saving this. I've had this for years. Oh. All right, that's wall power again. Okay. So you work from that, but you don't work directly from a computer? Okay. Like, just don't die on me now. You're brand new. This is what it was doing earlier. It's like, do you want to enable Zoom? All right, you know, fine, enable it. If it would make you shut up. I think it's because it's touching all over the screen or something. It's just assuming that I don't know what I'm doing. The stupid idiot needs to smell the internet to get started. It's working off this power bank, but it won't work out the computer. 3, 2, 1. Lewis Hamilton. Oh. I thought I could just quickly do it. Now I'm just digging through my hordes to see if do I have another 4S laying around. And I think this one's a 4 because of where the antenna lines are. You see, they're in different spots. Because the 4, if you grabbed it funny, you lost all reception. No, this is not a 4S. Well, while I magically wait for this to turn on, and this has an ironic twist to do with Siri anyway, I want to smell the buds. I remember these being terrible. They really do just kind of sound like mids and maybe a little bit of bass and a little bit of top end. You know what I mean? They're just like Nugget Plus. And they're Nugget phones, but they're just a little extra. But I mean, like, we gotta try that stinking microphone. So like this one time, mate, I was like trying to come up with like a really cheap fuel solution because, you know, like your cars can run on natural gas, hey? And I'm like, oh, surely they can run on other gases too, hey? Like hydrogen, that's heaps explosive, mate. And like oxygen, that's heaps explosive, mate.
And so I was like, I'm gonna make a super gas by combining the two, and wonder why no one had done it. And then like I got this clear liquid. It was like it was perfectly clear, and it like had no smell to it or nothing. I'm like, well, mate, this is hardcore. This is the real deal here. And so I've dumped into my dad's Commodore, hey, and it hydro-locked it, destroyed it, and then the mechanic said it had water in the fuel. I don't get it. How does that work, mate?
Basically sounds like the stupid microphone that come with bootlegs today. Like, have we gone nowhere in this time? Been a while since this last happened. I think this is overdue. Oh! Oh, what's wrong with him? Oh! Why is it making static noises? Wait. Ooh! Ooh! What? Maybe it needs more power. What? Oh! Whoa! 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 Oh! What's happening? Whoa! Whoa! Oh, man. Oh, they're really hot. Man. Oh, they smell great. That new Apple smell. Guys, my iPhone 4S is gone, mate. She's gone. She needs to be plugged into a computer to get set up, and the computer doesn't want it. And even when it was on the power and working, the touchscreen was freaking out. It's why I can't put the Wi-Fi password in. It won't let me do it. Right, you, can we smell old iOS? Come on. You piece of junk! Why? This is from the Nugget Dip. I just want the old iOS experience. That's all. I've let yous all down. I thought by getting a brand new one, which is literally completely sealed, I'd have at least a small chance of just browsing old iOS and getting... I mean, here's the punchline. Siri didn't work here. It only worked in America. Everyone else got nothing. Siri just go, duh, and then that's it.
Just taking a first look at Siri, the voice control assistant. Where's the nearest pub?
Sorry, I can only look for businesses in the United States.
Okay, that's a little disappointing.
It took forever before we even got any sort of use of Siri, and I'll argue she's not all that useful even today. Just give me that, you piece of junk. Oh, what a disappointing Nugget experience. With a brand new device. No doubt someone's gonna send a message being like, oh, you had to do with so-and-so and you can skip the Wi-Fi bit, but I don't know. Look how bad it is. Look, the screen is caborculated. Completely. It's over. It's all over now. That's it. Just stop. Just stop. She's gone. She's absolutely cooked. And it won't even connect to a computer. That's the end of it. Only consolation was the terrible microphone and the stoic effort these put up against the Mojo. That was probably the most violent I've heard. I'll kill you swiftly. It's called mercy. No, this is turning into gore now. No, this is meant to be quick and pain. I've mangled them. This was meant to be a mercy killing. Not even this could go properly. These are completely blunt destroyed. Gone out. Oh no, they're still twitching. Not even the Nug execution went smoothly. I'm so sorry. Oh, see you all next time.
Oh, come on, Frank. You're leaving your dirty clothes all over the floor, mate. It's not fair. You're very pretty though, Frank. You look lovely, but I'm mad, Frank.
Smaznug. So today's tech story, mate, is just, it's pretty epic. I mean, it's like the smartphone, to say it's plateaued isn't fair. You know, tech's always going to keep advancing. But mate, the 2010s were just insane for smartphones. My relationship with Samsung's a lot different to like kids nowadays, because, you know, I was growing up during the dot-com boom, and Samsung made a lot of middling, piddling, Me Too stuff. Oh, you got a candy bar phone? Well, mate, we got a candy bar phone. Oh, you got a QWERTY? Well, mate, we got a QWERTY. Oh, full screen touch phone? Oh, we'll do it too. Yeah, the first Galaxy, I mean, this will get its own video at some point, but this really was still to the old design language of Samsung, which is just give it a lot of the same similar features, put stuff in very similar spots, and then just make it out of cheap rubbish plastic and ship it out for cheap. But Samsung phones from a design point of view didn't interest me at all until like the S6 and the Edge phones. Finally,
Samsung found their own design language where you look at it and go, that's a Samsung, and not only does it look like a Samsung, it looks stinking great. That curved edges and things, so good. Well, fast forward to meme year 2016, we get the Note 7. This thing is a beauty. Gosh, this is such a good looking phone. Oh mate, she's got the doodly doo. Samsung's first USB-C phone. Like, that is a huge deal. And Apple still hasn't caught up. This is such a modern size, such a modern design, even with the old school home button and everything. How cute is that? Just the one camera lens, huh? When this launched and reviewers agreed, this was the best phone ever. Because, you know, great screen, great camera, great UI, great everything, but then really great fires. Yep. This is the original Fire phone, Amazon. Now look, devices catching fire isn't new. It's not a Samsung invention. Like learning that in 2004, there was a whole bunch of fires going on that got people really worried and concerned. But CNET, they hear of a few phone fires every year, but Note 7s, within a month, they were up to 112 cases. Like, that's more than a coincidence. That's like, hold up. This is nuts. So Samsung blamed the batteries themselves, you know, apparently not having enough insulation, like the casing was too small. Samsung said nothing wrong with the hardware and the software, nothing, it was just the batteries. Apparently there wasn't enough room around the heat seal protective pouch around the battery and its internals. In worst case scenarios, it caused the electrodes inside the battery to crimp, weaken, you know, and cause short circuiting. The liquid that surrounds these lithium batteries is flammable. Well, I mean, this thing is insanely thin, and the technology that was smashing into this, and battery life being a big thing, like phones nowadays, you can run them from 2 or 3 days and get away with it, but back in 2016, you're lucky to get 1 day out of your phone. So this race to smash as much into a phone was at peak at this point. And look, the first fix was really straightforward. Samsung said, oi, just hand in your Note 7 to wherever you got it, mate, and we'll swap you one which has a good battery in it, you know? Sorry about that. Here's another one, world's greatest phone, and then you can have this and you're all good. Samsung even made sure that you knew you had one with a safe battery because the little battery icon will be a different color. And this is when the drama really started, because then those safer replacement phones started overheating and catching fire all the same. But it even happened on an airplane. It was a replacement device, unplugged and powered off, complying with all the FAA guidelines and everything, still went up.
Would you please keep in mind that the use of Samsung Galaxy S7 Note is strictly forbidden.
And that was it. The dream was over. Samsung canned the whole thing. Like, Samsung didn't really mention how, like, their first batch of batteries got through their quality control process, and then, like, why the heck? I mean, it really actually did offend me to see that, like, you know, people were told, you got a nice one, you got a good one, don't you worry about, like, breathing lithium smoke in the night. So people were confidently putting it beside their bed, putting it on charge, and waking up gagging. Like, health risks much? You know, it actually really did offend me. It really did. Well, apparently the other batteries they were sourcing, some cells had missing insulation tape or like sharp protrusions or something. At this time, Samsung had made 2.5 million of these terrible things, and I'm allowed to call these terrible devices now. And the recall was huge. It was epic scale. And apparently 93% of them were meant to have been returned. I remember seeing on like subreddits and things that they were just Note 7 holdouts who just didn't want to give it up. And you know, because it honestly was the best phone that ever been made. And being the first USB-C phone with really ultra fast charging, it got them thinking about the entire ecosystem of their phone. And look, I know the Note 7 holdouts at the time would argue, oh mate, it's only a small percentage that blew up in the flames unexpectedly, even powered off. But gotta stress, it was way more than normal. You know, as I said, CNET never would see that many like devices per year catch on fire, and in the first month it was over 100 of these. And don't forget that these were brand new devices. Now imagine when they've been dropped 50 times. You know, experiencing hours of like 100% humidity in your gross gym pants. Potential ticking time bomb. Hey, speaking of potential ticking time bomb, here we are. This is a Galaxy Note 7. This is one of the few that didn't get handed back. Samsung offered a lot to get these off the streets and out of people's hands. There's no reason to own one of these anymore unless you collect freak junk like I do. Like, this lives in a metal box, let me put it that way. They did release a fan edition version, probably because they just had so many of these kicking around they had to do something with them. I think they had like way smaller batteries. And would you believe these are really hard to get? There's not many left. There's no reason to have them anymore. And I haven't tried to turn this on yet. Telcos were like bricking these via updates or something like there was. I don't know what's going to happen. It's like, we're gonna find out right here. I hope mine hasn't been bricked. I hope I can actually use it a little bit. USB-C, she's modern. Here we go. Oh dear. Okay, I can see, I've got a battery monitor, say it's pulling 7 watts, which is a good start. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. I mean, that's what you want to see from one of these. No battery power. Does that red light mean that it's armed? Is it gonna go up? Oh, dangerous! Dangerous! Can we turn on, mate? Come on. Yeah! Yeah! Come on! Go! That's awesome! Oh, that flash screen could be worth money nowadays. Oh, Smasnog! Oh, I love the ultra-wide screen. That's neat. Oh! Oh! Emergency! Help, I've turned on my Note 7. We're doing it. We're using a Note 7. Ooh, it's unusually warm. It's unusually warm. Man, for 2016, this screen is epic. No wonder why people really loved it. The camera. Huh? Oh, Samsung, go away!
Mate, like, you know, I found this device which is like potentially destructive and dangerous, and then people are like, nah, don't do it, don't get it, because it's junk, you don't need it, and I'm like, oh, but I kind of want it, and I kind of need it, because, you know, it's like, you know, it's kind of like my thing, eh? And then, like, I got it, and then, like, it turned on, and everything's seemingly okay, but, like, I'm waiting for things to go bad, and actually, this camera's actually pretty good. And like, you know, I'm in danger.
I've wiped old iPhones, like, for whatever purposes and things. I gotta say, the amount of pop-ups getting into this is infuriating Samsung. I remember everyone just absolutely hating Samsung's skin of Android and just everyone just begging Samsung, just give it up, just give us raw Android. Like, just stick to hardware. Ew, Amazon's pre-installed? That's heaps gross. It's an old smartphone in it with like a really nice screen and like quite a good camera. Actually, I'm just gonna unplug this, stop charging. It's really warm. It's warmer than I'm used to. After the event happened, most customers just stayed with Samsung. They just got another Samsung phone. And I can't help but not forget this. And it wasn't the fact that the phones blew up in the first place. Apple had ones that bent and ones where, you know, you lost cell phone signal if you held it in a funny way. Not detriment to your health, you know, people's cars didn't burn down, but it was the fact that they said, oh, don't worry, these new ones are safe. You've got the icon to say that you've got a good one. And then those ones exploded too. That's what really, really offended me. And I've never forgotten it. Yeah, quite an ugly skid mark on the face of Samsung, to be honest. It even came with its case. This thing's in really good nick. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it's gone. Oh yeah, it's gone. You know what? That's for the best. I like the idea of this thing being out of battery. What an epic piece of tech history. I'm so happy that I've got one. I'm glad that it's in beautiful condition and that it's turned itself off and doesn't need to catch fire. This is going into quarantine. This lives in a metal box, and I'm not even kidding. So yeah, this can hang out in quarantine for a couple of weeks, just in case it gets funny, and you know, go from there. Well, it may be ancient, but with its headphone jack, it's actually slightly better than modern phones.
Frank, man, I'm just telling you, you don't do anything. You don't do anything, Frank. You don't care about nothing, and you sleep through anything. I love you.
Very angry. Look, it's my work phone, because who would have thought running your own small business single-handedly would be a lot of work? I've been self-employed for a long time, way back in my musician days. And let me tell you guys, if you're self-employed out there, get a work phone. The hardest thing about being self-employed is like finishing work. If you're always reachable, people will try and reach you. But also, this is my backup camera. You've watched videos filmed by this and never even known it. But why am I very angry? Because it's dead. It's 3 months old and it's dead. Screen, boom, it's just black. The phone's still working. You'll hear it getting notifications going ba-da-ding, ba-da-ding. I had to rush and buy a lightning to HDMI cable to hook it up to the telly to see what messages are on there. Because again, this is my work phone. It's really important. I tried every troubleshooting step, guys. I have to take it to Apple. It's cooked. So I needed a work phone really quick. So I just rushed to the nearest JB Hi-Fi, legged it straight to the cheapest phone section, and I was delighted. It was just a beautiful wall of nuggets, and look, suffice to say, I've bought a whole bunch of them just so we can yell at them in this episode. And for 79 bucks, mate, you can still buy a Nokia that looks like this. It is a proper old school Nokia, cause yep, press star to unlock. Oh! I still prefer the monochrome version, but yes, it has Snake. So the neato thing about this guy is, it has 4G. This thing's gonna work for a really, really long time. Only thing is, this really is a dumb phone. Like, I haven't actually tried the games yet. So we've got Ninja Up and Racing Attack. That's just called Traffic. All right, let's try Ninja Up. Oh, I'm doing it. I'm sorry, you need to hear this music loop. That won't get old at all. Wow, they really bothered with that one. And like, let's try Adelaide Traffic. This is just traffic. Oh, the lines are making my head hurt. How they're moving a lot slower than everything else. Yes, it has a camera on the back.
Hey, Frankie, are you being a cutie? Are you posing for your photo time? Hey, do you have anything to say to people? Or are you just gonna slink away and hide? Frank's choosing to slink away and hide.
0.3 megapixels. They're still making cameras like this. Look, the thing about old brick Nokias like this nugget is that, yeah, this guy is way less featured than this one, but this was built to be a good phone. Like, it feels so satisfying to press the buttons. It's got a heft to it. It's made of really nice plastics. Not all plastics are equal. This thing feels cheap and hollow and just, yeah. Oh, those noises get so annoying. Well, there's only one way to know if it's a real Nokia, mate. Is it as strong as one of these? The answer is no, mate. So honestly, like, that phone had no chance of getting my SIM card and actually being my backup work phone. But this one genuinely is a contender. You can still buy flip phones. Oh, it's got the display on the outside. That's great. It actually looks pretty nice. This nugget was 129 bucks. Huge buttons on it. Like, I really like it. Here's a vintage Nokia from back in the day. And look at the screen size. Like, yeah, it's an old nuggety flip phone, but it's a little bit more modern in that regard. Now, I thought it was going to be pretty similar to the other Nokia until I realized this idiot has YouTube and Wi-Fi. It's got a mouse cursor. All right, how do I search? Can't deny that this is pretty tortured. Okay, there it is. Oh yeah, man, I get the T9 type. DONKPODS. Why did I make that 2 words? I'm an idiot. Go. Yeah, there's that horrible channel. Yeah, browsing on a flip phone. Oh, let's look at manky old phones on a manky phone. Don't watch this channel, it's terrible. She's a little bit laggy. And the fact that this could do it over 4G data is hilarious. Mate, it's got a headphone jack. It actually has features that modern flagships don't have. And look at this, Google Maps. Take me to Adelaide. Yeah, load. No reviews for Adelaide. Yep, that sounds about right. Oh, I wish this had a touchscreen. Yeah, from the middle of the ocean. Yeah, direct me there. How do I get to Adelaide from the middle of the ocean? What? I can't cycle from there? Look, it's got Facebook, WhatsApp, an inferior version of Snake. I hate it. Just simple Snake. Just right angles. Google search, it's got Twitter pre-installed, and that's really important because there are people out there who just don't want to deal with going onto an app store. The screen quality is okay, it's what you expect. There are some games on here, and I haven't played them yet. Let's do it together. Of course, these are all demos, you know, they won't give you anything. Okay, it's just like 1942, the game, I think. It's the same games that have been out since like 2005 on phones, or even earlier probably. Real football, see? Not that hand egg business the rest of us have. Yeah, what? What is this? What is that? How is this football? How long's the pitch? Just collect all the trophies. See, this is why it doesn't catch on in the United States. This makes no sense. Did I like the game? I can't answer no. Danger Dash. Is this the same stinking idea? tigers. Oh, wow, this is not running good on this phone. I'm gonna be killed by the tigers. I've already been onto the store to grab a game for us, right? And I've saved this because I reckon this one's gonna be a ripper. I don't know if you're ready for the title of this one. Crazy Eggs! It better be nuts. Like, this better be out of control. An ad for Wikipedia. That's a very sensible ad for Crazy Eggs. Wait. Hey! What? Don't tease me! Give me my Crazy Eggs! What? No! Oh, alright. Tutorial. Pff, like I need to know how to play Crazy Eggs. Okay. Whoa! Whoa! Ah! Ah! Oh! Crazy! Alright, I'm overselling it a little bit. This is not... Yes, cheap glossy back that attracts fingerprints and, of course, a camera.
Frank, you're on a Nokia flip phone. Digital zoom. But you could barely make out a snooty booper. There you go.
If you ignore the terrible games and like the YouTube and Google Maps is very, very funny. I like how it looks and yeah, this one's in the running. But that's when I found another brand. Opel. This is an Aussie boy and it's also 129 bucks. Features a way bigger screen here. It's not as high res. Yeah! Look at these chonkster buttons. This is specifically designed for the elderly and like hard of vision. I like these buttons. And look, dedicated flashlight. That is a good idea. Yes, it has a camera.
Smile, Frank. You're on the Opel Flip Nugget. I think it's even harder to make out your snooty booper this time.
And an SOS button. Are you ready for the most amazing bit though? Whoa, yeah! It's a touchscreen and it is surprisingly fluid. So it's got some simple apps in there that you'd expect. Facebook, WhatsApp, you know, they're staples, but nothing else really. And if you press apps, it just gives you this garbage. But the browser, yeah baby, you can browse YouTube. It's a lot crunchier and much harder work, but it is doable. D-A-N-K-P-O-D-S. Look, a terrible channel. The touchscreen really helps. It works okay. Like, almost livable. The only problem is it tends to just freeze and stop playing. You gotta keep pressing play again sort of thing. Oh man, if it had an actual YouTube app, and I'm sure there's people out there who could get YouTube onto this because I believe this is just a skin of Android or something. Actual super cool accessory that comes with it. A dock, like a charging cradle. That's a pretty fiddly connector if your hands shake a lot. And this guy, you could just slam dunk it in there to charge it. Yeah, like, I like it. And that's when I noticed for the exact same money, from the exact same company, you could get this. 129 bucks. And it's fun because it looks like a bootleg Galaxy S2. And then on the back, HTC. It's like a crossbred dog, but like, you know, a crossbred smartphone. This is a big old screen for what you get. It's okay. Hey, it's got an actual proper YouTube app. Yeah, it's a bit slow, right? It's a little bit slow. When hooking this guy up for the first time, it was all in Chinese. Very interesting. It hooked up to Wi-Fi easily. It installed updates. I think it's Android Go. There you go. Gig of RAM. 8 gigs ROM, I'm guessing that means storage. It can only take a 32 gig card. You know, you gotta make them cheap somehow. 4G, yeah, Android Go. The speaker can be pretty tinny, but baby, it's got a headphone jack, so who cares? Only annoying thing is the screen keeps dimming all the time. Oh, there you go, or brightening up. It just kind of has a mind of its own, and even if you adjust it, it'll fight you the whole time. And it's kicked itself off the Wi-Fi once. It's hard to get it into landscape. It's okay. Yes, it has a camera.
Whoa, we're filming on the Opel Smarty Pants phone that I can't figure out how to zoom in on. Whoa, there we go. I don't know if you can make out Frank though.
So it got me thinking at this point, like, well, what if you spent just a little bit extra? What can you get? So for 169 bucks, nice price, from Nokia, the Nokia 1.4. Stupid name, but it has a headphone jack. All these are outclassing modern phones completely. Dual cameras, look out, mate.
Ooh, full screen Nokia. Can we zoom in on the Franklin? Yes, there she is.
Fingerprint sensor, you bet. and it was a nightmare to hook up for the first time. It was really, really clunky. Like an old iPhone 6 just mops the floor with this. It has like Face ID as well, but it's nowhere near as sophisticated. Like on the Apple ones, you got to move your head in all these directions and things. This guy literally just said, sit still. All right, you're good. And it's incredibly slow. I never bother with it. But look at this. The screen is gigantic. Curved edges and like the little hump there. That's pretty stinking amazing. You bet just got YouTube and all that. It's still a bit slow. There you go. Come on, go on the landscape. Oh, I have to do it manually. Yeah, she's a bit slow. But hey, it has a handheld TV content watching thing. The fact that I could just walk in same day and grab this. That's super cool. YouTube has crashed on me a few times. During the setup, it kept trying to sell me things. It was really annoying. And the backlight on this guy's all over the place as well. It just go doo 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 doo. But looking at smartphones like this, this isn't the whole market because you could always buy used. And for 129 bucks, refurbished, you could get an iPhone 6. And honestly, right out the gates, this thing is made beautifully. This wasn't designed to be cheap, it's just old now. A headphone jack! Oh look, a really out-of-date proprietary connection that should be replaced by USB-C a long time ago. It'd be really embarrassing if their latest phones were still using this. Setting this thing up for the first time was like a dreamboat. The Touch ID setup was just like a brand new phone. The screen is nicer, but install the latest updates and it's not bad. I mean, yes, it stutters a little bit loading YouTube and all that sort of thing. This one is bent, so that's how you know it's an iPhone 6. It'll do 60 frames a second, 1080p.
Yeah, iPhone 6 camera. Wait, yeah, iPhone 6 camera. Hey? 1080 60 frank.
It is pretty dim looking, but I think the quality's there. I mean, a little bit extra light and like that would work really good. But this could do slow-mo as well. It's got iMessage and AirDrop. When these load Google Maps, it really stutters and stalls. And I find this guy just handles it that little bit better. I mean, it shows you how they get these at cheap is because they really do have the specs of an ancient phone. I think this guy just squeezes it out over these two. And it doesn't have to be an iPhone. I mean, go find a period time like, I don't know, like Galaxy or something, and it's gonna perform in a similar way. But the whole point of this video is me looking for a phone. So, who's getting my SIM card? Well, I don't want a manky old iPhone. And it's not gonna be either one of these because for my work phone, honestly, all I do with it is answer text and answer calls. That is it. And and these could just be a little bit too clunky for me. I want somewhere it's just flick, answer, hang up, which means it can only be between two boys. The Flip Nuggets. And it is so close. Because honestly, while I think this is a cooler looking design, I like these buttons and layout, like having a dedicated flashlight button. That touchscreen really makes it work so much better. This does have a better microphone, which is going to be better for calls, but I love that this has a dedicated and working YouTube app and maps. That's too funny. Who's getting my SIM? It's this guy. And I'm looking forward to this because I finally have a phone that can share the same pocket as my keys. But damn, that was a close second place. I don't know, I'm still, half and half on this guy right here. Give respect to this guy, I'm telling you, it was a really close second place. We're gonna do a whole video filmed on this. We smell the pixels, and we'll just struggle through it together. And I don't even know how I'm gonna mount this into my rig to even film with it, but that's my problem.
If you live in a major city, I can take a pretty good guess at one of your most common frustrations: traffic. In city driving, the journey is rarely better than the destination. In most cases, we just want to get where we're going. Traffic is not just frustrating, but it has consequences to the environment as well. All those idling vehicles have an impact on air quality. When you're stuck and sitting behind a long line of cars, it's easy to let your mind wander over solutions to our traffic woes. But traffic management in dense urban areas is an extremely complex problem with a host of conflicting goals and challenges. One of the most fundamental of those challenges happens at an intersection, where multiple streams of traffic, including vehicles, bikes, and pedestrians, need to safely, and with any luck, efficiently cross each other's paths. Over the years, we've developed quite a few ways to manage this challenge of who gets to go and who gets to wait, from simple signs to roundabouts, but one of the most common ways we control the right-of-way at intersections is the traffic signal. There are a lot of good analogies between cities and human anatomy, and roadways are no exception. Highways are like the aorta, with a high capacity and single major destination. Small collector roads are like the capillaries, with not much capacity, but a connection to every individual house and business. And in between are the aptly named arterial roadways, the medium capacity connections between urban centers. Rather than ramps, overpasses, and access roads to control the flow of traffic, arterial roads use at-grade intersections through which only a few traffic streams can pass at a time. We call this interrupted traffic flow for obvious reasons. In most cases, these intersections are the limit to the maximum throughput of the roadway. In other words, increasing the number of lanes or speed limit won't have any effect on the overall capacity of the road. The only way to increase the number of vehicles that safely travel from point A to B is to increase the efficiency of the intersection. In addition, these intersections are where a vast majority of accidents occur. For these reasons, traffic engineers put a lot of thought and analysis into the design of intersections and how to make them as safe and efficient as possible. Controlling the flow of traffic through an intersection, otherwise known as assigning right-of-way, is an enormous challenge and almost always requires a compromise of numerous conflicting considerations, including space, cost, approach speed, cycle time, sight distance, types and volumes of traffic, and human factors like habits, expectations, and reaction times. Intersections also need to be rigidly standardized so that when you come to an unfamiliar one, you already know your role in the careful and chaotic dance of vehicles and pedestrians. From a throughput standpoint, the ideal intersection would cause no interruption to flow whatsoever, but you can't put a high-five interchange on every city block. On the other hand, simple signs are cost-effective and don't require any extra space, but they can't handle a lot of volume because they create an interruption for every single vehicle passing through the intersection. You can see why traffic signals are so popular. They aren't a panacea for all traffic problems, but they do offer a very nice balance of the considerations we discussed before: relatively low cost, minimal space requirements, and the ability to handle large volumes of traffic with only some interruption. In their simplest form, traffic signals are a set of 3 lights facing each lane of an intersection. When the light is green, that lane has the right-of-way to cross. When the light is red, they don't. The amber light warns that the signal is about to change from green to red. Beyond this basic function, traffic signals can take on innumerable complexities to accommodate all kinds of situations. Let's take a look at a typical intersection here in the US to show how they work. At each approach to an intersection, there are 3 directions vehicles can go, called movements: right, through, or left. Right and through are usually grouped together as a single movement, so a typical 4-way intersection has 8 vehicle and 4 pedestrian movements. These movements can be grouped into phases of the traffic signal. For example, the left turn movements on opposite approaches can be grouped into a single phase because they can both go at the same time without conflicts. Traffic engineers use a ring and barrier diagram to sketch out how different phases of the signal are allowed to operate. Here's the ring and barrier diagram for our example intersection. The first phase is the major street left turns. Then the major street vehicle and pedestrian through movements. A barrier to clear the intersection. The minor street left turns. The minor street vehicle and pedestrian through movements. And finally, another barrier before the cycle starts again. There are an endless variety of phasing arrangements that traffic engineers use to accommodate various intersection configurations and traffic volumes for each movement. Even the simple decision of whether to use protected or unprotected left turns takes a significant amount of analysis and consideration. Another important decision is how long each sequence of a phase should last. Ideally, a green light should last at least long enough to clear the queue that built up during the red light. This isn't always possible, especially during peak times on busy intersections. In these cases where the intersection is saturated, the green light might be extended for each phase to minimize the startup and clearance times, which are periods when the intersection isn't being utilized to its maximum capacity. The amber light needs to last long enough for a driver to perceive the warning and decelerate their vehicle to a stop at a comfortable rate. 1 second for every 10 miles per hour or 16 kilometers per hour on the speed limit is a general rule of thumb. But traffic engineers also take into account the slope of the approach and other local considerations when setting the timing for yellow lights. In most places in North America, you're allowed to enter an intersection for the full duration of a yellow light, which means there needs to be a time when all phases have a red light to allow the intersection to clear. This clearance interval is usually about a second, but can be adjusted up or down based on speed limit and intersection size. So far, we've only been talking about signals on a set timing sequence, but most traffic signals these days are more sophisticated than that. Actuated signal control is the term we use for signals that can receive input from the outside and use that information to make decisions about light timing and sequence on the fly. These types of signals rely on data from traffic detection systems. These sensors can be embedded cameras or radars, but most commonly they're inductive loop sensors embedded into the road surface. They are essentially large metal detectors which simply measure whether or not a car or truck is present, sometimes to the annoyance of bicycles, scooters, and motorcycles that may be too small to trigger the loop. Whatever the type of sensor, they all feed data into an equipment cabinet located nearby. You've probably seen hundreds of these cabinets without realizing their purpose. Inside this cabinet is a traffic signal controller, essentially a simple computer that is programmed with specific logic to determine when and how long each light will last based on the information from the detectors. Actuated control gives a traffic signal much more flexibility to handle variations in traffic load. For example, if a nearby road is closed and traffic rerouted through a signal that doesn't normally see such high demand, it may need to be reprogrammed before the closure. A light equipped with actuated control will simply see the additional traffic and adjust its phasing accordingly. Same thing with special events like concerts and sports games that create huge traffic demands on irregular schedules, and even seasonal changes in traffic like in major tourist destinations. Actuated systems can also keep you from waiting at a long light when no one's crossing in the other direction. Finally, actuated control can help by giving priority to emergency vehicles and public transportation by using specialized detectors like infrared or acoustic sensors that communicate directly with certain types of vehicles. But actuated control isn't the end of the complexity. After all, it still treats each intersection as an isolated entity, when in reality each signal is a component of a larger traffic network. And each component of the traffic network can have an impact, sometimes a major impact, on other components in the system. Take the classic example of two signals closely spaced in a row on a major roadway. If one signal gives a green but the next one doesn't, cars can back up. If they back up far enough, they can sit through multiple cycles at an intersection without being able to pass through until the light beyond clears. It's a frustrating experience for anyone. A signal is inadvertently but significantly reducing the capacity of an adjacent signal. One solution to this problem is signal coordination, where lights can not only consider the traffic waiting at their intersection, but also the status of nearby signals. This is a very common configuration on long corridors with relatively minor but frequent cross streets. The signals on the major road are timed so that a large group of vehicles, called a platoon by traffic engineers, can make it all the way through the corridor without interruption. This type of signal coordination can significantly increase the volume of traffic that can pass through intersections, but it really only works on stretches of road that don't have other sources of traffic interruptions, like driveways and businesses. If the platoon can't stick together, the benefits of coordinating signals mostly gets lost. The obvious next step in efficiency is coordination of most or all the signals within a traffic network. This is the job of Adaptive Signal Control Technologies, or ASCT. In adaptive systems, rather than individual groups of lights, all the information from detectors is fed into a centralized system that can use advanced algorithms like machine learning to optimize traffic flow throughout the city. These type of systems can dramatically reduce congestion, but they're only just starting to be implemented in major urban areas. As sensors become more ubiquitous and computing power increases, traffic management may slowly but surely be relegated from civil engineers to software developers and data scientists. On the complete opposite side of centralization, many believe that self-driving cars are the next revolution in traffic management. If every vehicle could communicate and coordinate with every other vehicle on the road, interrupted traffic control could eventually become a thing of the past. But don't get your hopes too high. In dense urban areas, traffic congestion is often self-limiting. Especially during peak times, for every one person on the road, there are many more at work or at home waiting for the congestion to clear up before they head out. This latent traffic demand means that any increase in capacity will quickly be filled up with more traffic, bringing the congestion back to the same level it was before. However we accommodate it, now or in the future, traffic will continue to be one of the biggest challenges in our urban areas, and traffic signals will continue to be one of its solutions.
The Sims. While other games push you through the meticulously crafted story of some hero, this game allows you to experience the joy that comes from crafting your friends and family and then making them pee themselves in doorless rooms. I've been playing The Sims since I was a kid, and it allowed me to imagine what I might become. A successful doctor, perhaps, with a mansion and a pool that doesn't have a ladder to get out of it. And now that I'm a D-list internet video producer with a grungy apartment in New York City, I've realized that I was using The Sims as wish fulfillment. Perhaps there's a better way. I might only have one life, but my Sim can live many, many lives. I was playing a game. I should have been doing an experiment. So today, I'm going to use The Sims to perfect my living situation. What a surprise! Now, this Unraveled will be a little bit different, considering most of it is going to be game footage, meaning I don't need any paper. Let me explain my methodology. We will have two subjects, Simulated Brian and Reality Brian, which is me. I'm Reality Brian. Here's my hypothesis. If Simulated Brian's living situation can be perfected in The Sims, then Reality Brian's living situation can also be perfected by altering it the same way in real life. Now, I could try to do this in a perfectly controlled environment, but life is messy, and sometimes science has to be messy too. So before I can create my Sim, I gotta measure my apartment. Obviously, I have to work with what I currently have, and if I'm supposed to make an honest simulacrum of my living situation, I gotta make sure it's to scale. I should also point out that I live in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates and a cat, and although they have rooms of their own, I will not be modeling them in The Sims. Partially because I rarely spend any time in their rooms, but it's more because I am a good roommate who respects personal boundaries. I will not redecorate their personal spaces, but I will exploit the common space for content. When you cut my roommates' rooms, you can split my apartment into 6 different sections. There's the living room, the weird nook, the kitchen, the creepy hallway, the bathroom, and my room. I used Vanilla Sims 4 because I didn't want Simulated Brian to accidentally become a wizard or a skeleton or a college student. The first step is to make an accurate depiction of myself, both in personality and in appearance. This took a good chunk of time, but it was worth it when I crafted an exact 1-to-1 replica of myself in The Sims. Then I built the space. I used my measurements and gave myself close to unlimited funds to create the apartment, and bought myself the cheapest appliances just like my landlord did. At the end of this, I had a pretty exact reproduction. Then, it was test time. I gave myself a career similar to my own, and then I let Simulated Brian do his thing. My rule was that I had to have little to no interaction. But after a few days, it became clear that there were flaws with my experiment. One, it was too slow. If I want a longitudinal look at Simulated Brian's living situation, I need to see his entire life. 2, this experiment is meant to perfect my living situation, not my job. And currently, Sim Brian is finding enough fulfillment in his career, which is an uncontrolled space. Sim Brian needs to stay in his apartment, and that means no job. 3, Sim Brian was perfectly content reading books, and everyone knows that books are boring, so I obviously need to fix whatever personality flaw turned my Sim into a dweeb. I addressed the first flaw by downloading a mod that would allow me to put on ultra fast speed. I also altered my Sim's personality to reflect my own, and I accepted that simulated Brian's appearance wasn't all that accurate in the first trial, so I fixed that as well. With the new personality traits and the ultra fast speed mod, this trial was far more accurate. I spent a lot of time standing in my bathroom, staring at the wall, or sadly contemplating my reflection. And then, Sim Brian died of starvation after 4 days. Which is a massive success! I got to see the entirety of my Sim's life! In Trial 3, I took a hands-off approach. I popped on ultra-fast speed, and I let it ride. In this trial, I die of starvation after just 2.5 days, which makes me think that this mod might be so fast that Sim Brian can't feed himself. So in Trial 4, I start on normal fast speed, and I decide I'll only jump to light speed when I'm bored. And things start well enough. Sim Brian manages to socialize and stay happy for 2 days. It starts to break down on Tuesday, when I find my Sim sadly eating a grilled cheese in his empty kitchen. And then on Wednesday, Sim Brian sadly eats cereal while staring out the kitchen window. Things get real bad at 2 a.m. on Thursday when he stares in the mirror for hours. The ennui has set in. That afternoon, he stands in front of some dirty dishes on the coffee table, too depressed to wash them in the sink, which is mere feet away. Sim Brian goes through the same motions for the next week, watching TV, staring in the mirror, sleeping at random intervals. He seems devastatingly unhappy, but he manages to live a much fuller life than the past 2 iterations. It takes him nearly a week longer to die of starvation. Except, he doesn't really die. In an effort to expedite the death sequence, I accidentally hit ultra-fast speed, and for some reason, this killed Death. I waited, hoping the Reaper would respawn, but no. So I rushed through the days, waiting for someone to find my collapsed body in the weird corner of my creepy hallway, but the only people who noticed my quote-unquote death were the utility companies. I used this moment to look around my neighborhood. Most houses were far nicer. I was alone in a little box, surrounded by neighbors who had forgotten me, or perhaps never knew I existed. Even Death had forgotten me. I watched my slumped body linger in limbo as nothing changed. After a week, I resigned myself to quitting. And then in Trial 5, I peed myself. A lot. Boy, Trial 5 exemplifies how much my apartment needs an upgrade. At the beginning of the trial, my Sim left the house to socialize, and he was so happy not being in his tiny apartment that he stayed outside for 12 hours, ignoring his bodily functions, and at 9 p.m., while speaking to a potential new friend, he peed himself. Does this make the embarrassed and uncomfortable Sim go inside? No. Sim Brian so loathes his living space that he decides to stand outside all night browsing the internet until, again, he pees himself right before having a flirty conversation with his friend Terry. Dirty, dirty Terry. After another full day outside, hunger, exhaustion, and the need to pee finally make Sim Brian go home. He was more willing to spend 2 nights soaked in piss before spending a single minute inside his apartment. Big mood. The rest of his life was typical. Mirror, standing, dying of starvation. After 5 control trials, it was time for the results. Here's what I learned. 1. I'd rather spend time outside of my house in repulsive conditions than spend time inside my house. Something needs to change. 2. The only thing that managed to make Sim Brian happy was good decoration. I need to redecorate. And 3. Sim Brian managed his basic needs until he became desolate due to a lack of social interaction. A hole so deep he couldn't go anywhere but down. And this makes me believe that the thing that killed me was not starvation, but rather becoming so lonely that I no longer sought to fix my situation. But that has nothing to do with my apartment, so let's focus on the things we can change. Simulated Brian was happiest in these terrible trials when the decorations were good, and that's something I can fix in real life. But before I do, let's set some ground rules. 1. I can't alter any of the rooms in my apartment or I'd lose my security deposit. 2. I can't change the furniture because my roommates bought it and then they'd hate me. And 3. The money. I had considered giving my Sim a budget similar to my own, but money cannot buy happiness. And if this is true, then money, when compared to happiness, has no correlation. Therefore, money is no object, and my Sim should be allowed to purchase anything regardless of price. Infinite money. Sims decorations show how many environmental points they are worth. By this logic, it doesn't matter how well a room is decorated. It matters how much a room is decorated. So I spent a solid hour giving my apartment the most decorations possible. Allow me to give you a first-person tour. The living room now has lots of beautiful paintings. The weird nook now has a purpose as the jazz room, because for some reason, The Sims has so many jazz paintings. The TV has to stay, but now I have 3 maps around it to say, I'm also smart sometimes. The kitchen hasn't changed because it's small and there's no space to hang anything. The creepiness of the hallway has crystallized into sad clowns. No one wanted to spend much time in this hallway before, and now they really don't want to. In my room, a bunch of portraits, an apple wall, and a pear wall. This should remind my Sim to eat food. And finally, in the bathroom, I installed a second mirror so I can't just stare at the wall. Now let's see it in action. In the first trial, I did another hands-off approach on ultra-fast speed, and my Sim once again died of starvation super quickly. So yeah, maybe the mod is too strong. But in trial 2, things go way better. For the first time in any of the trials, my Sim manages to go from very sad to happy thanks to the tasteful decorations. Though Simbrian has moments of ennui and loneliness, for the most part, the house is making him happier. Simbrian does so well that he survives after the utilities shut off his power and water, and he dies of starvation after more than 2 weeks. That's nearly double the length of any of the other trials. My decorations worked. Yeah, I still die of starvation, but I'm living twice as long. And that's all the proof I need that this is the perfect form of my apartment. All I gotta do now is make it in real life. Polygon said that they wouldn't reimburse me for purchasing thousands of dollars worth of paintings, even though I told them it would make me more productive. So I gave myself a budget. Then I went to a lot of thrift stores to purchase as many paintings as I could find. Some fit the aesthetic, others would need alterations. But I got a lot of things. Or I thought I had until I got home and realized it wasn't even going to cover one of my walls, let alone all 6 rooms. So I dug around my apartment to find anything that could be stuck on the walls. In the end, I was able to fill the entrance, but the rest of the living room was pretty sparse. In the jazz room, I put up a papier-mâché man playing the piano, a dartboard that felt pretty jazz to me, and a skeleton wearing a tank top that says, "I heart my daddy," because I honestly didn't know where else I could put that. In my own room, I put up the Appletini painting and hung a huge self-portrait from my senior year of high school. And that was it. That's all I had in terms of decorations. I took the day off to do this, but I was done in an hour. I even put on my suit in order to film the results of the trial, but my house felt as empty as it had when I began. I couldn't start the live experiment because I couldn't recreate my Sim's house. But I wasn't giving up. If I couldn't purchase the decorations I needed, I figured I could make them myself. So I bought a bunch of washable paint and 1,000 feet of butcher paper. I don't need any paper. I lied. It was a week before Thanksgiving. I was gonna be out of town and I needed to finish this part of the video before I left. That meant I had to create about 70 large paintings in less than 3 days. I got a solid start, painting all of the apples and pears. I even managed to edit the 2 paintings I got from the thrift store into sad clowns. But I was halfway through the second sad clown when the process started weighing on me. If I had to spend a few hours on 10 of the simplest paintings, there was no way I was gonna get this finished before deadline. I was alone in an apartment making shitty paintings for a video that wasn't gonna get made in time. I got a stress migraine, so I turned off the camera and I went to lie down. When I woke up from that heinous nap, I decided to do one of the most difficult things I've had to do for an Unraveled. I asked for help. And if you've never had to ask your friends and coworkers to help you paint terrible paintings for a stupid video, let me say you're not missing out on much. It's an uncomfortable thing to ask people to do. And honestly, the weirdest part of this whole process is that people said yes. People said they'd come help me paint. And they said yes just because they wanted to. And also, because I said I'd buy pizza, but you gotta grease the wheels somehow. So I turned my house into a painting factory. I cut the paper, I moved the furniture, and that night, people came over. Not just my roommate and my coworkers, but my friends, and friends of those friends. I was expecting 1 or 2 people to help me, but I ended up with 10 people in my house, all painting large-scale portraits and really good sad clowns. Seriously, who knew that my friends were so good at painting sad clowns? I don't 100% know how to feel about how good my friends are at painting sad clowns, but I'm glad I gave them an outlet. All of these people came over just to make my apartment happier, to lend a hand when I was overwhelmed. And not only were they helping me make my apartment happier by decorating it, they made it happier just by being there. This task that had given me a stress migraine became a really fun time. And it reminded me that although it can sometimes feel uncomfortable or embarrassing, if you ask for help, more often than not, people are willing to help you paint large pictures of jazzmen. In 3 hours, a task that seemed insurmountable by myself was complete. And I was so excited that I did the walkthrough while they were all still there. The living room with fabulous landscapes, the jazz room's huge murals, the creepy clown hallway that was way too good, my room with its amazing portraits and fruit walls, and the bathroom where I stared at myself, not considering my flaws or my apartment, but just smiling. That's it. Just smiling. It's been well over 2 weeks since my apartment was redecorated, which is longer than I survived in the Sims trials. So it's been an incredible success. My apartment is perfected, I'm happier with it, and it's all thanks to the redecoration. Or at least that's part of it. I think that part of the reason I find so much joy in my apartment is knowing that the decorations were made by people I care about. There's a story behind it. Simulated Brian fell further into sadness due to his isolation, but the paint night turned reality Brian's terrible situation into something joyous. So I have to wonder, does my newly perfected apartment make me happier because of the decorations, or because of the people who helped me decorate it? Trick question, it's obviously the decorations. Is life quantifiable? Every breath, every beat of a heart? Do they count as tallies etched tirelessly into the stone of our existence until one day that stone is returned to dust? Is there a number, an algorithm underlying the spark of life? And if given the chance to know the arcane secrets of that algorithm, would you use that power for good? Or would you use it to calculate your pet's HP? Because that's what I would do! Hit points! What are they? And how do they become the standard unit of life in nearly every game? It all started with war games. Tabletop games that involve a lot of little miniature military forces fighting on a battlefield. Back in the 1920s, the Naval War College created an early form of this in order to help evaluate battles before actually fighting them. They had a stat called life, which was determined by how many 14-inch shell hits a vessel could take. So that's what a hit point is. How many 14-inch shells it would take to kill you. Every living creature is 1 hit point. The end. But that isn't our current understanding of HP. That came when war games shrank in scope and started to become more fantasy-oriented. In older games, you would roll dice and then your troops would either survive or they would die. You had large swaths of nameless troops, so you could do this without feeling any remorse over their deaths. Haha. War. But when these games stopped playing with hundreds of troops and instead focused on a few main characters, players realized they didn't want their characters to die, so the hit point was born. Your character could survive X number of bad rolls before throwing them in the garbage. So really, the hit point wasn't made to quantify how easy something is to kill. It was born from compassion and wanting to see your characters grow and thrive. and then also to figure out how easy they were to kill. We've had some semblance of HP for nearly a century, but we haven't updated our real-world understanding of what one hit point looks like. So I'll be doing that, specifically so you can quantify your pet's HP. A little disclaimer up front, I am not giving you this algorithm so you can battle your pets. Animal abuse is wrong, and if you needed me to tell you that, I'm glad I told you that. I'm also not teaching you how to calculate human HP because that power is too great to wield, and it could easily be used for evil by some of the most wicked forces on Earth, like health insurance companies. No, I am teaching you to calculate your pet's HP as a fun bonding exercise between you and your animal, or in case you happen to be at a house party where you don't know anyone but the hosts have a dog, and so instead of just sitting in the corner pretending to text people, you can spend your time calculating that dog's HP, which is a way more normal thing to do in a social situation. Now it is time for the research. How are we going to effectively calculate any pet's HP? Luckily, there are plenty of games that cover pretty much every type of pet that you could possibly have, but I'll be using Pokemon as the main pet HP analog because it is literally about having lots and lots of pets that you can love and cherish, and I'm ignoring all the other stuff. And that brings us to our first criteria: type. According to the National Pet Owners Survey, here are the most common types of pets found in US households. I appreciate that they have included a category called small animals, as if that means fucking anything. So we're changing some things. The standards are still there: dog, cat, fish, and all aquatic creatures. Reptile, bird, equine, small animal is becoming small mammal for things like ferrets and rabbits. We're also including bug because I love bugs, and if you have bugs in your house and you make the conscious decision to want those bugs in your house, they aren't pests, they're pets. Amphibian for the frog people. Farm animals covers any livestock that don't immediately fit into the other categories. Originally, I thought about classifying these quadrupedal animals as different sorts of dog: chunky dog, milky dog, horny dog, but farm animal encompasses them a little bit better. I am still keeping those names though. We also have a category I call exotic, which encompasses all of the animals you see in Instagram influencer pics that make you say, I don't know if you should own that thing. This can go from monkeys to bats to hyenas, which, according to this incredibly reliable website, I could technically own in New York due to a loophole. Also, millennials and Gen Z often live in tiny, no-pet apartments and don't get paid enough to support a decent standard of living for themselves, let alone a pet. So they'll often turn to plants in order to feel the joy that comes from nurturing a living thing in our rapidly decaying ecosystem. So I'm extending pet status to plants, so that way you too can do this HP calculation, because God, we all need a distraction sometimes. By building a set of pet types, we are able to assign HP ranges to each of them by finding the lowest base HP and the highest max HP of each type. The absolute extremes of this scale are Shedinja, with a base HP of 1, and Wailord, with a max HP of 544. Now, both of these would be pretty wild to have as pets, considering one is the shell left behind after a cicada molts, and the other is a fucking whale. But that's why they're the extremes, and that's why we are not done with our equation yet. We might know the full HP range of a dog, but what is the HP range of your dog? I thought for a moment about having size be the next criteria, because you might think that the larger the animal, the more HP it would have. That's actually not true. In fact, the Pokemon with the highest base HP is Blissey, this strange little egg woman, and Onix, an enormous rock snake, has one of the lowest base HPs of all Pokemon. This confused me, so I had to go back to the original popularizer of HP, Dungeons & Dragons. And it was there that I realized what truly affects your HP value. Your value is not defined by the size or shape of your body. It's about what you do with the body you're given. It's all about class, as in what standard gaming class does your pet fall into. Every class has different HP ranges based on what they are expected to do. Barbarians are out in the front lines, so they tend to have a lot more HP than a rogue who is slinking around in the back. I've decided that the classes that make the most sense for pets are Barbarian, Ranger, Paladin, Cleric, and Rogue. I haven't included any classes like Sorcerer, because if you have a magical pet, what are you doing here? Go cast spells with your turtle. These class distinctions separate your pet's HP range into 10 equal portions. If your pet is a rogue, you get the first 6. If your pet is a barbarian, you're anywhere from 5 to 10. Your pet's personality will determine what class they fall into. Your pet is a rogue if they are rakish, mischievous, and spry. Cats tend to come to mind for the rogue category simply because they are always up in shit that they should not be up in. Your pet is a cleric if they are kind, reserved, and healing. A rabbit that hops onto your lap after a rough day of work and makes you forget all your worries is 100% cleric. Your pet is a paladin if it is loyal, resourceful, and honestly tries a little bit too hard. Does your zucchini plant produce too many zucchinis, aka any amount of zucchinis? It's a paladin. Your pet is a ranger if they are self-sufficient, aloof, and kinda do their own thing. Ask yourself, am I holding my pet rat back from their true ambitions? The answer is always yes, and your rat is a ranger. And finally, your pet is a barbarian if they are boorish, brazen, and courageous to a fault. Does your dog dig under the fence so it can jump into your neighbor's pool? Your dog is Marmaduke. It is also a barbarian. Your pet can have a combination of many of these traits, but it's up to you to decide which traits are most dominant. Now that we have your pet's type and class designated, we need to get into the nitty-gritty of their exact HP, which means finding your pet's level. In order to do this, you must observe your pet in a scientific manner. So I reached out to a field biologist.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm a wildlife biologist.
I contacted Olivia after she responded to my totally normal Twitter request with this dope-ass picture. I figured that if anyone knew how to calculate the hit points of an animal, it would be someone holding a huge bird like it was a torch. Have you ever found the hit points of any of the animals you've been researching?
I've never been involved in any sort of study where that was something that we looked at, so no.
Okay. But there are probably plenty of studies about hit points with animals.
Probably.
Though she didn't have experience with my specific question, I knew she would have some useful advice for observing animals in their natural habitat. When you're observing an animal, how much interaction should you have with it?
None.
None at all.
None. You have to sit in like a blind or a tent of some sort where you're hidden or you look like part of the environment. You could wear a ghillie suit. People have also done that.
How long of a period are you observing that animal for?
It depends on how much time and resources you have, obviously. There have been scientists that have been observing the same hawk for like 20 years in a row.
So if I am trying to perfectly know my pet's HP, I should be observing it for multiple years.
Yes.
Cool. How do you take notes when you're observing an animal?
Right, so I actually, can I send you something?
Yes, please. This is exactly what I was looking for. Olivia had sent me an animal behavior data sheet, which I could use as a template for observing and recording a pet's behavior. But some of these behaviors wouldn't make sense when observing your pet on a random day. We ended up developing a new sheet that had standard behaviors and class-specific behaviors that had different weights associated with them. You observe your pet for X number of hours, tally up all the behaviors they did over the course of those hours, and then divide the weighted total by X to give you your pet's level. The logic behind this is that a higher level pet is more likely to do more intense and class-specific behaviors. Then you plug that level into this algorithm, and you get your pet's HP. It may seem challenging, but science shouldn't be easy. It should be correct. This is probably the hardest scientific work you've ever had to do.
It really is.
Yeah. With these tips in mind, I welcome you into my home. In order to test these calculations, I need a test subject. So I'm using my roommate's cat, Zuko. He lives in my apartment, but he doesn't pay rent, and he eats my bagels if I leave them unattended. As I mentioned previously, finding your pet's HP can be a fun bonding exercise, and in this case, I've been dealing with this small bastard's antics for so long, I need to remind myself why he's here by quantifying his value. The first step is easy. He is a cat. That puts him in the cat category. Okay. Step 2, we gotta give Zuko a class. As I mentioned previously, cats are often rogues, but I don't think that fits Zuko considering he is the least stealthy creature I know. His meow sounds like he's been smoking 2 packs a day for the past 40 years. And every time he does manage to sneak into his food cabinet, he lets me know immediately. Just wanted to check in on what's going on up here in the cat cabinet where we keep all of the food for the cat. He is loud, stubborn, and not afraid to make terrible decisions in plain view of me, and that makes this guy a barbarian. Okay, but now it is time to observe Zuko to find his level. As per Olivia's instructions, I must observe him for several years without any interaction. After explaining why I needed it, my time off request was denied, so instead I ate some bodega sushi in order to induce illness, and I took a sick day. This is the hard part, because it's going to require me to observe Zuko as he goes about his daily business without him noticing that I am here at all. I assumed my position, and I waited for the interesting behaviors to start. Not only was this terribly boring, but I was beginning to fear that Zuko was not as strong as I had hoped. Do something, please! But then I realized there was an exploit in my system. Though Olivia, a scientist, said that you should keep your interferences to a minimum, I'm not a scientist. I'm a gamer. And I began what is known as power leveling. I had to get Zuko as many experience points as I could before my roommate got home and asked me what I was doing. Over the course of the day, Zuko averaged 63 behavioral experience points per hour, although those behaviors were somewhat coerced by me. I know that I broke my system by interacting with Zuko, but if it makes my pet happier, and it makes him less of a weak-ass scrub, why wouldn't I game the system? I had also noticed that Zuko and I had grown closer. Our support level had increased to at least a B. I no longer saw him as a freeloader who sometimes throws up in my bed. I saw him as a companion who sometimes throws up in my bed. When I felt lonely in my empty apartment, he was there for me. When my stomach ached from the bodega sushi, he purred at just the right frequency to ease my pain. When I was worried he was going to be underleveled, he soothed my anxieties with his heavenly voice. And all this time I had spent trying to calculate his HP, I hadn't realized he was replenishing mine. So here is Zuko, Barbarian class level 63. I love him with all my heart, and he loves me just the same. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. I have to get it to the right amount of tucked.
You want to adjust your pants after we start shooting?
I didn't think about it beforehand. I need to make sure that it's tucked in just enough that I can raise my hands over my head, and then I can relax. Welcome back to my kitchen. It's a different kitchen now. It's slightly better lit. It's gonna be 90 degrees in New York City today, and even with air conditioning, it just means that I'm gonna be in a constant state of slightly sweaty. But now that it's summertime, and now that it might be vaccinated summer, you can finally hang out with your friends again, but you don't know how to do that. You don't know how you're gonna invite them over. Here's how you're gonna do it. You're gonna have an ice cream social, and I'm gonna teach you how to make 3 weird-ass ice creams that your friends will want to come over and try. See, this is why I needed to tuck in my shirt the right amount.
Okay.
Hefty boy! This here is a fancy ice cream maker, and I purchased it specifically for this video. I used to be obsessed with making ice cream. My senior year of high school, a guy was selling an ice cream maker on Craigslist for 20 bucks, and I agreed to meet him 60 miles away from my house in the empty parking lot of a derelict Best Buy, which is to say that I was so passionate about ice cream that I was willing to give up my mortal life in order to do it. Anyway, I now have a much nicer ice cream maker, and I didn't have to purchase it from a scary man. It has rejuvenated my soul and my love of making ice creams that most people probably wouldn't want to try. Am I selling this good enough for you to want to watch the rest of the video? If you have an ice cream maker at home and all you're gonna do with it is make vanilla ice cream, when you have an ice cream maker, the world is your oyster. You could make oyster ice cream and I won't stop you. I can't stop you. No one can. I'm gonna give you 3 weird ice creams that I personally love to eat. It's gonna open your mind to the possibilities that an ice cream maker can give you. We're gonna make a non-dairy pina colada ice cream, a peanut butter and lychee. This is lychee? Lychee.
Lychee?
Lychee.
Lychee. That's the British pronunciation. Let's hear it in American.
Lychee.
Lychee. Similar. And then third, we're gonna make an Old Bay ice cream. What would you expect? Of course I'm gonna make an Old Bay ice cream. Of course I'm gonna make an Old Bay ice cream. Of course I'm gonna make an Old Bay ice cream! If you are a bit afraid of the ice creams that we're gonna make today, and you shouldn't be, they're not too wild. You can always go one step below the weirdness and then just make toasted black sesame ice cream or graham cracker ice cream. If you make these 2 ice creams for your friends are gonna go, thank you so much for introducing me to this ice cream and for giving it to me. I'll put you in my will. Whereas the ice creams we're gonna make today are gonna make your friends say, oh, do you have any chocolate? But if your friends aren't wimps, they're gonna go for it. Let's make some ice cream. Full disclosure, I'm basing a lot of these off of Ben & Jerry's Sweet Cream Base #1. The beauty of the Sweet Cream Base is that you can start with that and you can put whatever you want in it, and there's like a 90% chance that it's gonna turn out okay. Like, we have a bunch of leftover cherries. I could make the Sweet Cream Base, throw the cherries in, and they might taste good. It might taste bad, but that's the fun about it, is you can try. Let's make it, actually. Now that I'm saying it out loud, we're gonna go off book today. We're gonna try. Let's start with the simplest, most acceptable ice cream flavor that I'm gonna give to you today. One that you're gonna say, that's not a weird ice cream flavor, and you're right about that. But the thing that makes pina colada ice cream weird is that it's non-dairy. A lot of people have bad experiences with non-dairy ice cream, and here's my theory why. It's because they want it to just be normal ice cream. If you're gonna make non-dairy ice cream good, you have to accept that you're doing it with non-dairy flavors, and that's why pina colada is such an easy thing to make in non-dairy ice cream. So I'm using these organic coconut milk and coconut creams that are unsweetened, and you literally just use one of these. The only problem with that is that this is 13.5 fluid ounces, and this is 5.4 fluid ounces. Doesn't make it super easy if you don't have these exact cans, but I do, so I'm gonna just use them. If you can't find these exact ones, that's okay. Just make sure you taste it. That's the whole point of this entire experiment, is you gotta taste. Too sweet, not too sweet? Oh yeah, that's exactly right. That's what you do. Coconut cream in there. This one only needs a half a cup of sugar. You can do this by hand. It's not a big deal. It's just faster when you have a stand mixer. You want to get it a little fluffy. That's about it. The reason I like this as my non-dairy ice cream of choice is because, again, it already is supposed to taste like coconut. I'm a big fan of textures in my ice creams, so I put in a 1/4 cup of unsweetened coconut flakes. It is so hard for me to be looking at a recipe while I do this. Normally, I just kind of put shit in. Just gonna mix that up real quick. You might be wondering, Brian, where is the pina of the pina colada coming in? And it's not right now. The thing about an ice cream maker is that it's like a very slow blender. And if you put chunks of things in at the beginning, either it gets stuck or it just pulverizes. And in this, I want to have the chunks of pineapple in there because it's a fun thing. Again, I like textures in my ice cream. So most ice cream makers have a thing like this. You just pour it in. This amount will take about 30 minutes. If your ice cream maker can just be plugged in anywhere, put it in a room you're not gonna be in because it's loud. And pop that baby.
Stay on target. Stay on target. Fire!
You pop that baby in. Okay. Okay. And now we can leave and not have to listen to that for 30 minutes. Now let's make the creams. They all start with sweet eggs. Eggs? I gotta stop flying by the seat of my pants when I make instructional videos. No!
No. No.
Oh, this is unpleasant for so many reasons. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
You have to blur all of this out.
Oh no. All right. When you take out your eggs, immediately crack them into the bowl. Okay? I cannot stress this enough. I know you might think, oh, we're gonna have raw eggs in our ice cream? That could be problematic. But don't worry, we're going to heat up those eggs by heating up the cream. The term for it is tempering, right? I'm not gonna say you're not gonna, salmonella. I'm not a doctor, so each of these bases are going to have 1 egg's worth. If I whip them all together, it's easier than whipping each one separately. We're gonna start adding in the sugar a little bit at a time as it starts to mix. I'm gonna do 3/4 of a cup today. Wait a second. Let's put in 1 more for good luck. 1/4 of a cup per egg is usually what I go for. A little bit more is fine, like what I did right there. All right, so there is 1.5 cups of stuff in here. We just need to put 1/2 cup of this mixture in with each of them. The math worked out fine. Let's start with peanut butter and lychee. This started because I had peanut butter and jelly ice cream once, and I was like, this is great, but I don't think the grape jelly is what I want in here. So I was like, what about lychee, which is a little bit more of a weird sort of fruit flavor, and I tried it, and it kicked ass. I gotta turn on that air conditioning. I'm becoming Sweat City over here. It's just a cup of heavy cream, 1/2 cup of whole milk, and now it's time for the most important part. Extremely cheap peanut butter. I told you we were gonna heat this stuff up. The heating up is good because it not only will help temper the eggs and like make sure that they won't give you salmonella, maybe. Again, I'm not a doctor or a chef. But it's also good because it helps melt the flavors that we're putting into here. The thing that I wish I had if I were to become a cooking show man, which I'm not saying I won't be, because it's obvious if I've got a knack for it. I just want 1/2 cup measures everywhere, and I never have to wash them mid-recipe. Gotta wash another spatula. There'd be a million spatulas too. You just take this 1/2 cup of peanut butter, and you just chuck it in there, baby. In fact, why did I bring out this other spatula? I am my own worst enemy. We're not trying to get it super hot and burn because that can happen. When you start to see the bubbles starting to form on the sides, that's basically when you're gonna be done with this. Get this thing blending up again, and then you're gonna put a little bit of the heat in there. The worst thing you can possibly do is pour all of the hot stuff into the eggs all at once, because then you're gonna end up with scrambled egg ice cream, and no one wants that. Maybe you could do that. Maybe scrambled egg ice cream. I already added one today. We're not gonna make scrambled egg ice cream. The peanut butter mixture right now looks like it's a little bit separated, but that's all gonna come out in the process, I promise. Once you've put in like half of it, you can just dump the rest in and it'll be fine. And that's the peanut butter part of the peanut butter and lychee ice cream. So you can pop it into a container. The best thing to do is to chill this for a bit before you put it into the ice cream maker. When you're finished with the next ice creams, this one will probably be cooled down enough to pop into the ice cream maker. And so you can just keep it moving, keep it going. Speaking of keeping it going, what am I gonna do next, baby? Gonna have to wash all these dishes right now. Let's go ahead and do the unplanned cherry vanilla based off.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 20-second Hammer tutorial in the version 2 series. This tutorial will apply to all Source Engine games. I will be using Counter-Strike Global Offensive to complete this tutorial. In today's tutorial we will be going over a complete implementation and importation of sounds, custom, and stock into your level. We're going to start off by placing ambient generics and soundscapes just to get you rolling. Then we're going to go into importing our own custom sounds and looping a WAV file. And then finally we will do the creation of sound scripts and soundscape creation to fully customize your level. So to begin, we're just going to press Shift E to select our entity tool, and we're going to create an ambient generic. This ambient generic can be a positional or global sound in your level. You can use it for music or when a player activates something. We're going to have a sound play when we enter this room. Placing our object in the room, pressing Alt-Enter, bring up its object properties, we're going to change its class type to an ambient generic. Right off the bat, we see we have this radial sphere, which represents where the sound will be heard, assuming you're standing in this sphere. If we go over to flags, there's 3 flags that we will use quite a bit. Play everywhere will change the sound from positional to global. This will be used for music or other things like that. Start silent means that the sound will not start playing as soon as the level is loaded, and is not looped tells the game to not loop the sound. If you uncheck this, that does not mean that you'll get a looped sound. For a sound to be properly looped, it needs to have flags inside of the WAV file to tell it where it can loop. So for now, we're just going to leave these all default. Go back to the class info tab, and under name, we need to name it something so it can be triggered. I'm just going to call this room. The next thing we want to look at is the sound name. When you select that, you'll get the browse option. Click browse, and we're presented with the sound browser. The sound browser is pretty straightforward. We have our list of sounds here that are seen, a filter, and the sound name. There are a few ways to browse for sounds. You can choose this by sound type. Our options are game sounds, raw, and scenes. Game sounds are pulled from the sound scripts. Raws are just direct file paths to the raw file, such as ambient, animal, bird17.wave. We're going to stick to game sounds for now, and then in the filter, I'm going to put start. I'm going to scroll down to the sound that I want to play as soon as we enter this room, and if autoplay is checked, I can click on it and it'll play the sound for me in a preview. If I want to hear that sound again, I can hit preview, and I can stop it if I want to. I'm going to hit OK, and that will add the sound to my sound name. We can also invoke the sound replay from right here as well. A few other options that you might want to change are volume. If the sound is too loud or too quiet, you can change this. Do know that 10 is the maximum volume. We have a fade in and fade out time, but if we just want this sound to play as soon as we enter the room, this is how we're going to leave it. I'm going to place this to be underneath the light, so it's coming from the center of the room, and I'm going to create a trigger. And with my trigger multiple, I'm going to add on start touch, select my ambient generic, and then choose play sound. Hit apply, and I can close out of that. That is a quick and easy way to add sounds to your level. Let's check out what it looks like in game. Here we are in game. We're just going to walk over here, and as soon as I enter this room, the sound will play. And the sound is positional. If you'd like to visualize the sounds that are being played in your level, you can do so by opening the console and typing SND show 1. After SV Cheats is on, of course. We can see that in the top right, it's now telling us what sounds are being played on what channels. If we exit the room and enter again, it will also go ahead and play the sound again. You can find other sound-related console commands by typing find SND. SND into your console. This will print out all of the sound-related commands that you might want to play with. SND Visualize is also a good one that you'll want to play with. This will allow you to visualize where sounds are actually being played from in the world. You can see it's leaving a little mark underneath where my footsteps are coming from. If I exit the room and re-enter it, it will show us that that sound is coming from an ambient generic right underneath the light. Now we'll want to add soundscapes to our level. A soundscape is a set of ambient sounds that will constantly play as soon as you've activated them. You don't have to remain in the activation field for the soundscape to continue playing. They'll play until you tell it to activate another soundscape or you disconnect from the server. For simplicity's sake, we're just going to use the built-in soundscapes at this point in time. Later we'll create our own soundscape and we'll go into more detail then. The first thing we need to know is what soundscapes are available to us and how do we listen to them. Start out by loading up a game, and then in your console type clear, followed by CL, soundscape, print debug info. This will go ahead and give us a list of soundscapes available to us, and the soundscape that's currently playing. I like to select the entire list of soundscapes and then copy them to a text file for me to later reference. For this tutorial, we're going to use the Dust 2 indoors and outdoors, since we have an indoor and outdoor area in our map. If we'd like to preview a soundscape, just select it, go to your console, type play soundscape, and paste it in. We can now hear that we're using the indoor soundscape from Dust 2. This is the soundscape that's played when you're in a tunnel. If you'd like to confirm what soundscape you're playing, enter that debug command again, and it will tell us the current soundscape. This is the debug soundscape that's playing. This is a soundscape that was invoked by using the play soundscape command. The current soundscape is the soundscape that was activated by the map. As you can tell, by using debug commands, we're able to override the current playing soundscape. If I wanted to start playing this overpass soundscape, I just enter that command and hit enter, and we now hear trees from the park. If I enter the debug command again, it'll tell us that the current soundscape that we're playing is Overpass Park. So now let's go ahead and add these soundscapes to our level. Adding soundscapes is really easy. Start by pressing Shift-E to select a new entity, and change it to an NV soundscape. You'll see we have 3 soundscape entities here: a normal NV soundscape, a proxy, and a triggerable. Select NV soundscape and click Apply. We have this radius circle now. What this means is that this is the radius that the player has to be in for the soundscape to begin playing. The player also must be able to see the soundscape. This means that if you have a leak in your level, soundscapes may encounter issues or not function at all. Press Alt Enter to open its object properties, and we see that the radius is set to 128. If we change this value to -1, this soundscape will start playing as soon as the player can see it. This can be used if you only want one soundscape in your level, if it's a battle arena, or some other thing. Most of the time, we do use the radius feature. We see that soundscape is set to nothing. If we want a soundscape to play, we need to put it here. So I'm going to select Dust2.outdoors and paste it in here. We see there are soundscape positions 0 through 7, for a total of 8 positions. I'll go into this in more detail later when we create our own soundscape. We also now need to name this soundscape. I'm going to name it SS Outside. I like to prefix all of my soundscape names with SS for easy searching and editing later. Click Apply, and then close. But we have all these windows that the player can get out from, and a second entryway. If this soundscape had position sounds in it, we wouldn't want to create a bunch of master soundscapes, if you will. We want to use proxies. I'm just going to shift drag this entity, and then press Alt Enter. We're going to change it to an NV soundscape proxy. Once we've created the proxy, we're going to clear out the name, and make it reference under soundscape entity, our master soundscape. That now means that when we enter this soundscape proxy, it's going to grab all of its settings from the master soundscape. I'm now just going to place a few of these to make sure that if the player were to enter or exit through any of these windows, that they hit one of these and begin playing the sounds. Now, as long as they touch, even just barely, this sphere, they will begin playing the sound. Now, it may seem a little messy to have all these spheres just to start a soundscape. So what if we want our soundscape to trigger in a box instead? While the spheres will work, and this isn't technically an incorrect way, we can still do it a bit cleaner. We're going to use a soundscape triggerable now to trigger our indoor soundscape, since this is basically a perfect square. I'm going to start by creating a trigger volume inside that the player will have to touch when they enter the inside area. I'm going to do this by copying the trigger multiple that I created earlier. I'm going to go and remove its output. I'm going to change it to be a trigger soundscape, and now I need to create the soundscape triggerable inside of it. So creating a new entity and making it a NV soundscape triggerable, I'm going to click Apply, and I'm going to name it. Now, for an NV soundscape triggerable, it does function like a normal soundscape, meaning that when you enter its radius, it will still begin playing the soundscape. It will also begin to play the soundscape when we enter this trigger volume. We only want it to trigger when we enter the trigger volume, so set its radius to 0. Do not set its radius to -1, because if you do that, as soon as we enter our level and can see it, it will begin playing it. We'd much rather have its radius set to 0, because we want to use the trigger volume to begin the soundscape. Now, make sure to put in the soundscape that you want it to play. Click Apply, select your trigger soundscape. Now click the eyedropper and select our soundscape triggerable of SS Indoor. Click Apply, and then that's it. Let's go ahead and compile, and we can see what this looks like or sounds like in game. Here we are in game, and we'll notice that there are no current soundscapes playing. If we enter the command soundscape debug 1, we can see what soundscapes are currently being played and by what entity. As I walk forward, we see that the soundscape is now begun to play, and we can see that by the green line, this is the active soundscape, and also which one it's referencing. If I walk inside, we see that the indoor soundscape has begun playing. If I climb through one of these windows, we've now switched the soundscape to be outside. We can also re-verify this by entering that print debug info and seeing that our active soundscape is Dust 2 Outdoors. If I go inside again, we see that that soundscape has now changed to Dust 2 Indoors. So that is a quick, easy way of getting soundscapes into your level without having to dig too much into scripts to customize the soundscapes. Now, what if we want to add our own custom sound to our level? This could be a song or just a sound effect. So I have a song that I've downloaded off of YouTube, and I'm just going to open it up in Audacity so I can convert it to a wave and the proper settings for Counter-Strike. If you don't have Audacity, you can download it from 99.com, or just Google Audacity and you'll find its source storage page. I'm going to drag and drop the MP3 onto Audacity, and it'll quickly open it. I'm going to edit out a little bit of the song, and this is the song that I want to use. I'm just going to go to File and Export, and then choose Wave, Microsoft Signed, 6-bit PCM. Using the default settings of Audacity, the sound will work in-game without an issue. Go ahead and click Save. Audacity will ask us if we want to put any meta info in it. Just click OK. You don't have to do that. It'll export it, and we'll end up with the WAV file wherever we saved it. Now we need to just drag and drop it into our game files. So, going to your Steam apps, Common, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or whatever game you're working on, go to the Games folder, and then Sound. Never put a sound file into the root of sound. Always create a subfolder, such as Custom, or My Sounds, and place your sounds in here. I now have song.wave. I'm just going to move it in here. And now, we can go ahead and choose our sound from a ambient generic. Click Browse, change your game type to RAW, and then search for it. If it doesn't show up, you can refresh the sounds, and it should instantly show up. Counter-Strike and other games can use MP3s, but they won't preview in the sound previewer. It's best practice to always use waves, as those are the best for the game. Unfortunately, their file size is a little bit larger than MP3s, but you can use MP3s nonetheless. I don't know the settings off the top of my head to make MP3s work, so that's why I just use waves as well. Click Apply, and then close out, and recompile. Here we are in game. We're going to now go invoke our sound to be played. But the sound hasn't played. If we open up our console, we'll now see SND start sound failed to load. The song is missing from the Discord repository. Depending on the game that you're working on, you may have a sound cache, and you need to update the cache before the sounds will work. To do this, just type SND update audio cache. it should say updated one of a number of cached files. This should now mean that your sound is in the game cache and can be read next time it's called. If you're working on a mod, you can also invoke the SND rebuild audio cache. This takes a bit longer as it scraps the cache that's loaded and rebuilds it. This can also be helpful if you have some corruption in your sound cache. Now, when I enter this volume, the sound is playing, and we can see that it's playing my sound.wave. There may be times when you want to loop a wave file. Looping wave files are used for ambient soundscapes such as wind so that the sound keeps looping and never ends. To do this, we need to add markers inside the WAV file. Unfortunately, Audacity is unable to do this, but there's another free piece of software called Wavesaur that can. The first thing we're going to do is download and open Wavesaur. You can find Wavesaur using a link in the description below or by googling Wavesaur. When you open it up, you'll be greeted with this program. Go ahead and drag the file in that you would like to have loop, and find the part that you want to loop. I want this part up in the front here. So I'm just going to start by quickly deleting all of the parts that I don't want, leaving me with just the sound. I only want this tone at the end to loop. So the sound is going to play this beginning that says Albi, followed by the tones, forever looping. To create the loop points, just highlight the area that you want to loop and press L on your keyboard. You'll see loop start and loop end. If you right-click on these and go to properties, you'll be able to fine-tune the samples of start and end, and the total range. Click OK, and now just click the floppy to save your file. I'm going to call it loop.wave. Now that we have our loop, we can just drag it into our sounds folder, and then add it to our ambient generic. Select the sound, we can preview it, and under flags, uncheck is not looped. This will make the sound be looped in game. Click apply, close out, let's compile and hear what it sounds like in game. Alright, here we are in game. I've already updated my audio cache, so I'm going to go invoke that sound to play. So as we can tell, the sound loop's fine, and if you're an actual audio guy, you can probably make the loop sound a lot better than I can, but that was just a quick and rough cut. Now let's create a basic sound script. A sound script is a script that calls sounds but can put modifiers on them, such as the channel that the sound should be played in, a volume modulation, pitch modulation, sound levels, and so forth. You can also have a sound script call an array of sounds as well, so you can have multiple bird chirps called from the same sound. To begin, open up your games folders, go to Steam Apps, Common, or wherever your game is located, go to the game folder, and then scripts. We need to add the sound to the manifest to be called. We're going to open up our game sounds manifest. At the bottom, we're going to put preload file on a new line, tab over, and put scripts/game_sounds tutorial.txt. And now we just need to create a new text file inside of scripts with this name. Now, inside of this, we can begin creating our sound scripts. We're going to start by just doing a basic pitch change. So we're going to open up with a quote, pitch.change_tut. That's going to be the name that's going to be called when we choose to use the sound. And we need to put everything inside of curly brackets. The first thing that we're going to do is choose the volume. So volume is going to be 1. Let's go ahead and see what these look like in Hammer. We're going to start by creating. So we're going to have sounds 1, 2, and 3, and these will be called randomly every time we call the array change tut. So we're going to save that. This is just a quick few things to get you started with sound scripts. Honestly, the best way to learn about sound scripts is to go through the VDC article and create your own. I also have a written guide on how to make sound scripts that I'll link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and see what these look like in Hammer. We're going to start by creating a new ambient generic that's going to be called when we press a button. Just going to give it a name, click browse, change my sound type to game sounds, refresh them, search for my script name. And we'll apply that there. I'm going to check the is not looped and apply. I'm going to copy this and paste special over to another side, and we're going to make it be the random or array. We see that when we preview it, it's not random in Hammer, but in game it will be. I'm now going to create 2 buttons to allow me to trigger these sounds. Now I'm going to compile and see how these work in game. It should be noted that you may have to restart your game to get the sound scripts to load up. Now when we push this button, we get a hilarious pitch randomly every time we call it. And when we use this button, we should get a different sound every time we press it. So there is a quick, brief introduction on how to use soundscapes. Do note that I would love to go into more detail on this, but sounds are very specific to your level. The best way to learn these is to read through the VDC article and then go from there. But this should be more than enough information to get you guys started. I figured that pitch changes and randomness and an array are the best ways to get you started. Now let's look at creating our own custom soundscapes for our level. The first thing that we need to do is once again browse to our game directory. So Common, Counter-Strike Go, CSGO, scripts, and then open soundscapes-manifest.txt. At the bottom, we want to add a new text file. So open quotes, file, tab over, scripts/soundscapes_your map name. And now we just want to create a file with this exact same name in the scripts folder. We now want to open up that file, and now we can create our own custom soundscape. There's a few things that you'll want to note first. At the beginning of our soundscapes manifest, there's a list of DSP effects. These DSP effects change how sounds are played, from how a bullet shot will echo, or if it'll sound muffled like you're underwater. Play around with these sounds, but mostly you're just going to use one for generic. We're going to create one soundscape in our level for outside. It's going to have some planes flying around outside, random car sirens, and of course, an AC unit positional sound, and some flies by a garbage can. Let's create our base soundscape. We're going to call this tutorial.outside. Create a set of curly brackets because everything goes in curly brackets. The first thing that we want to add is just some wind that's outside. This wind is going to be looping constantly, so the first thing we need to do is find the wave that we want to play. A soundscape will always reference the wave file directly. Press Ctrl-Shift-S to open the sound browser, and then change your sound type to raw. In the filter, I'm going to type in wind. This will give me a list of most of the wind sounds. You'll see they're mostly ambient. This is where most of the soundscape sounds will be. When you click on one, you just kind of get this sound. It's just wind. I'm just going to look for one that I like, dry air short, and I'm going to copy the wave path. Click copy, and then you can click stop there. Back to our soundscape, we're going to create a new line and tab over. We're going to start with DSP, tab over again, and then do 1. This defines the DSP effect for the soundscape. We're going to start by creating our looping wave for our dry wind. We're going to open quote and do play looping, and then another set of curly brackets. I'm going to have the sounds play a lot faster than you normally would. Play randomly around the player. So this sound, random, drop down. We see we have our flies being played over there, as well as an airplane being randomly played here. Our air conditioning sound played right here.
Well, I mean, I know the police is going to arrest me, so where do you want me to go and be arrested? I can explain to the police. I mean, look at me. Do you think I would do something like that? I'm very professional. Well, I see a lot of people come here who are very professional. I mean, you can talk to Chris when I said, you know, I know who you are. I've seen the show many, many times. I mean, we talk about it at work. I would never do anything like that. Why am I being arrested? I haven't really done anything. Don't you think I should be prevented? To be prevented from happening. So why am I still arrested, though? Because you came up here to prey on a 13-year-old girl. I know, but that part is over. Whatever happened, I mean, don't you think I should be let go now? So you can go find another 13-year-old?
Yeah, I made some tea and it's on the table.
He tries to follow the decoy. Have a seat right in that chair. Instead, he runs into me.
Please, sir, I really drove this far for no reason.
You drove this far for no reason? Yes, sir. Perfect Buddy says he was really just looking for a friend, nothing more. But then his story seems to change.
Please, I swear, sir, I'm a desperate person. I need a girl in my life, and if she really wanted to be my friend, that would be all I needed from her.
She said she was 13.
She did. I'm sorry, sir. I have interest in younger girls. That has just been a fantasy of mine.
A fantasy?
Yes, sir.
Do you know it violates Georgia law?
Yes, sir.
Did you say you are ready to have my thang in your mouth?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by that?
Are you ready to have my in your mouth?
Like so many others, he says he wasn't doing anything wrong. You ask her if she's horny.
What's wrong with that?
You ask if she does anal.
It's a question.
I know, but you're asking a question to somebody who identify themselves as an underage girl.
It's just talking. I don't see the internet and real life are two different things. What's said on the internet doesn't mean that's what I really think.
Well, that would be easier to believe, Jeff, if you didn't show up here tonight, where you thought a young girl was home alone.
No, I really didn't. I knew she was
Why would you be here?
I mean, I knew she was alone, but that doesn't mean much to me.
I don't know, maybe something in my head goes... I don't know,
Something in your head goes what?
I don't know, something's wrong. You're absolutely right, I don't know. Like I said, I'm in meetings, whatever. And I'll get rid of my computer, I'll never use it again. I'm telling you, I'm wrong. I'm not telling you that I'm defending myself, I'm telling you I am wrong.
Do you ever watch TV?
Yeah, somewhat television.
Do you ever watch Dateline NBC?
I seen that episode, actually, that's why I don't prefer to be on camera.
On Chris Hansen. You saw the earlier episode.
Yes, I did.
So you know what this is all about? Because I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC and we're doing another story.
Yeah, okay. Let's not down.
So let me get this straight. You saw our earlier story.
Right.
You drove by this house and saw police out front.
Yeah.
Yet you walked in here anyway.
Bored, I told you.
Bored?
Yes, I don't know.
What was your plan here today?
No plan whatsoever.
No plan whatsoever.
Just come to talk and everything. Obviously, I mean...
As the 31-year-old heads for the door, law enforcement moves into place, ready to take the man down as soon as he walks outside.
Get on the ground!
Come over and get a 12-year-old girl drunk.
No, I don't want to get her drunk.
Well, what is that? Well, how many of those can a 12-year-old girl drink before she gets drunk? Talk about 12. If there's anything else you'd like to tell us, we'd like to hear it. If not, you're obviously free to walk out.
Well, just don't try it.
Don't try it.
Don't try it. It's not working. And you know, things lead to bad things sometimes, you know?
Don't try what?
Don't try going on the internet and trying, because sometimes it might be someone you're not talking to, what they say they are.
So that's the lesson? Somebody might be lying to you as opposed to not trying to hook up with a 12-year-old girl?
Sometimes it might be someone else, like you or anyone else, they might be lying.
Nick, I think you missed the lesson here. The lesson you're trying to give is that be careful who you're talking to. It might not be the 12-year-old girl you want to hook up with.
Exactly.
How about maybe the lesson should be trying not to hook up with a 12-year-old girl?
Or that's it. Even that was all.
And I'm not really into, pedophilia. This is probably considered that. And I know this is probably going to be on Dateline too, so go ahead and put it on.
We know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline.
Right, I understand. I recognize it from the voice.
And everything you've just said and done has all been recorded.
Okay.
And if you have anything else you'd like to tell us, we'd like to hear it.
Just saying that, I shouldn't have done it. I mean, this is something I normally don't go out and do.
I want you to be honest with me. If I wasn't here tonight, and a young girl was, who was alone and willing to have sex, what do you think would happen?
Probably would have happened.
Probably would have had sex. You would have gone ahead and done it.
Probably, yes. I mean, I could say honestly, yes, it probably would have if she would have, said, hey, let's go for it.
And you don't see anything wrong with that?
Yes, I do see things wrong with it, but I lack a judgment.
And here's a first. Before he leaves, he actually thanks me.
Thank you for bringing, kicking me in the pants.
The man in the SpongeBob jacket walks about 2.5 miles right past our street and gets lost. After walking several blocks out of his way, he finally heads in the right direction, and here's our decoy calling him.
Hey!
Can you give me a ride home? Because I want to walk back.
I had to walk back?
Well, that's up to you. I'm not in a position to give you a ride there.
Did you bring the porn for the laptop, or?
It's fine.
You brought it? Okay. Alright, well then can you, explain to me, what you think we were gonna do?
First, I was going to get to know you. I wasn't reversed to have sex yet. I'll let you in, right?
And how old are you?
Yeah, I'm 17.
What year were you born?
85, I think.
85? He's really born in 1980. That makes him 27.
I wasn't planning on doing anything with him.
You say things online like, and I'm going to give you eno, because you got a nice ass.
Okay, this ain't way you give me a cab?
I'm not going to do that. The good news is, he won't have to make that long walk back to the train station.
Get down!
The bad news is, that you're getting a ride in a police car to jail. Could you explain yourself?
I'm sorry. Certainly. I'm sorry.
What's going on here?
Your son IM'd me. I need you to come on over.
I have been in television for 24 years.
I just came to get something to eat.
And I have very seldom been at a loss for words.
Sir, I just came to
But I don't even know what to ask you first.
I just came to get something to eat.
John, we've been through this before. What are you doing? I've got the chat log again. You're chatting up another 13-year-old kid, and you're going to meet him here at McDonald's. You identify yourself. You call yourself Shane this time. You ask him a series of personal sexual questions. Is that appropriate talk to be having with someone you think is a 13-year-old boy? No. Last night, you walked into a house in suburban Washington, naked, with a 12-pack of beer, hoping to meet a 13-year-old boy. Yes or no?
Yes.
Great. Today, you're on the internet again. You had an inappropriate conversation with a boy you think is 13, and you set up a meeting here at this fast food restaurant. What was your intention?
I don't know.
Don't you think you need some help?
I'm saying psychiatrist.
Do you see why I was skeptical last night when you said, no, I can't, John, I can't do that. That's their job, is to record video and audio. Now, you put yourself in this position, so don't get tough with that. Do you see why I was skeptical last night when you said it was the very first time you'd ever done something like that?
It was, though.
Why? You consider yourself a predator?
I don't know.
You don't know. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, sir.
And he walks off, shoes untied. Workout today. Had a nice little walk today. You did. Where did you have to walk from? Oh, wait. Let's come on over here and have a seat on that stool like this. Sure. Where did you walk from today? It's Saturday night in the Connecticut suburbs. Autumn is in the air. And this guy is bringing pizza to the door. Jeff Sokol is no pizza delivery man. Cops say he's here to meet a 13-year-old girl.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Sokol drove all the way from Boston to our Sting House in Fairfield, Connecticut. What he doesn't know is that we've placed more than a dozen hidden cameras all over the property. His date with a 13-year-old is going to be on national TV. On Sokol's LinkedIn page, he calls himself Master of Puppets, possibly a reference to a famous heavy metal song. He says he graduated from the University of Massachusetts Amherst with a degree in management. He worked in the insurance industry as an auditor, but he says he now drives for Lyft, the ride-sharing service. We're working with the cooperation of the Fairfield Police and the online watchdog group Tetrad Core. Tetrad posts pictures of actual 13-year-olds on social media. We're hiding their identities. It's not long before Sokol contacts our decoy, we'll call her Bailey, and the chat gets a little raunchy. Are you a virgin? LOL, yeah, that is personal. No, I was with my boyfriend once. I really want to be intimate with you. Do you have pretty feet? LOL, yeah, I don't have homeless feet. He then turns the conversation very personal, asking questions no adult should ever ask a 13-year-old. Do you trim your blank? LOL, yeah. Do you think blank size matters? Nope, X was decent. I'm not that big, but I know how to satisfy a girl. Sokol seems to be worried that Bailey might be an undercover cop, so he asks for a custom pic to prove she's real. Take a selfie holding up 4 fingers below your face, then I would know it's really you. My fear is that it's not you, that it's someone in law enforcement looking to nail someone. Bailey sends the pic, and Sokol sends a creepy reply. I like it. Your hands are cute. Sokol knows the girl is 13, and he says he knows what he's doing is illegal. As a 44-year-old guy, I shouldn't be talking to 13-year-old girls like this. You know, I could be put in jail if the police found out we were intimate. The only way police would know if we ever got intimate is if someone saw us together or you told the police. Not by me. Blank that. Well, tonight, intimacy is not on the menu. In fact, dinner is delayed. Sokol is late because he says his pipes sprung a leak.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
He thinks he's calling Bailey to tell her he's late, but he's actually speaking to Lori from Tetrad in our virtual control room.
your plumber get there yet?
It's late.
Finally, his plumbing repaired, Sokol heads down I-95 for Connecticut. He picks up a pizza and asks Bailey about what to wash it down with. You got booze? My mom has some vodka, but no rum. Sokol arrives at the house. Our on-site decoy, a 19-year-old theater student, lets him in the door.
Sorry about that. Come on in.
How are you?
Good, how are you? Did you find the house okay?
No, because it's really dark out.
Oh. That's a long drive.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I'm really nervous.
Oh, you gonna give me a hug?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'll settle into it.
Okay.
So, kind of peachy batches. There's plates here behind
So
you.
like the small pizza is like almost as big as the big one. So I didn't know that. Like you said small, I thought it'd be like a really small one.
Yeah.
I said big one. So it's like a big one.
Sorry.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I am. I'm fine.
I've just never done this before.
I know.
Have you?
No, not really. I mean,
Are you telling me the truth?
I've met girls online, but I don't like come like this far to like meet someone. I don't know why.
It's kind of crazy, huh?
It is crazy. Yeah. Why did you let me come?
I don't know.
If you're so nervous.
It seems like a good idea, and you seem nice.
Why do you think I came?
I think I know.
It's not the only reason. It's not the reason.
What's the reason?
And I just, been talking to you for a while, and you seem like really cool to hang out with, and someone that I'd like to meet, and I wanted to check out the situation,
Well, here we are. So, let's deal with this whole contract thing, because I'm just going to be thinking about it the whole time. Until we get that out of the way.
Let's meet, and we can talk about it. I mean, you look great.
Thanks.
You just look different than what than like in the pictures. I don't know, maybe I don't know. I expected you to have dark hair. Did you?
My hair it lightens up in the summer.
And no, I'm not saying. I mean, I think you look
You don't
great.
like it?
I think you look great. I'm just saying, like you look different, than I thought.
Yeah.
But no, nothing wrong with
Well,
that.
you never can tell with online things,
In a text that will turn your stomach, Sokol talks about a marriage contract and even suggests they elope. The only thing that can prevent me from getting arrested is if we got married, LOL. If you were married to me right now, then I wouldn't be breaking the law.
What's that?
I have no idea. Do you want me to check?
Somebody here?
No.
What kind of pizza we have tonight? Who's this? I'll get to that in a minute. Who are you?
Who are you?
You tell me first. You're Jeff, right?
Yeah.
And what are you doing here tonight, Jeff?
Hanging out.
Hanging out with whom?
With her.
Who's her?
I want to know who you are.
I want to know a little bit more about you first.
Can I eat first?
Sure, go ahead. He's so relaxed and convinced of his innocence, he eats a slice of pizza.
Tell me who you are, because, I didn't know there would be other people here.
Well, what did you expect to happen here tonight, Jeff?
Didn't have any expectation.
No expectations whatsoever?
No.
So you drove 2.5 hours?
Sure did.
From Boston?
Who are you?
To come here.
Are you her dad?
To meet a young girl.
Are you her dad?
I will get to that in a minute. Go ahead, have a bite. Sokol probably should have brought napkins.
I haven't done anything wrong. Coming to meet somebody? What's wrong? What is that against
Coming
the
to
law?
meet a young girl?
Yeah, is that against the law?
It is after this chat.
How?
Did you bring some kind of a contract with you? Some sort of marriage contract? Let's see if any of this sounds familiar while you enjoy your pizza. I should come see you on Saturday. Well, since your mom isn't home, it's the best time to do it. I would, but only if you want me to. You say, I can't go to jail. My life would be ruined.
Right.
Could be locked up for 20 years.
Yep.
And then you say, do you trim your blank?
Okay.
Now you know that this girl is 13, right?
Wasn't sure.
She's told you. How old are you? You might as well just tell me, because I can find out like that.
Who are you? Can you tell me who you are first?
I will tell you that in a minute.
Because, you know, now you're making me nervous and...
You're 44 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? As a 44-year-old guy, I shouldn't be talking to 13-year-old girls like this. Yet I want to. What am I supposed to make of that? Sorry, I am paranoid. For meeting me? No, potentially having sex. But that is where the breaking the law comes from.
Right.
Punishable up to 20 years. Did you bring condoms with you tonight?
Well, they plan on having sex.
Do you have them in your car?
No,
I'm gonna find out, so you might as well tell me now.
I don't. Go ahead, check the car.
You will never tell anyone about us having sex. Are you sure? Okay, I could be there Saturday afternoon. Explain. Explain it to me.
Just wanted to come hang out and...
It looks like here you wanted to come here and have sex with a 13-year-old girl.
Okay, is that against the law to
have sex with a 13-year-old girl when you're 44? Yes,
No,
it's
to
against
meet-
the law.
To meet a girl. That's all I've done.
You see how this looks.
Okay, but do you also see that I was pretty apprehensive about the whole sex thing?
Well, wouldn't you be? Wouldn't anybody be if they're
Right.
going to try to have sex with a 13-year-old girl?
To be honest with you, you're not going to believe me, but I don't know who you are, but I'm sure you're like, you know, law enforcement. But
you think I'm law enforcement?
Well, I mean, that's what it sounds like. I was thinking about this on the way down.
Right. You had 2.5 hours to think about it.
And I wasn't gonna. I'm not gonna risk it. That's what I said.
It's not normal for a 44-year-old guy to drive 2.5 hours to hang out with a 13-year-old girl.
I wanted to hang out, see how she was, see if
a 13-year-old girl. How often do you do this sort of thing?
Never done it.
You've never done it. So tonight you just decided, okay, I'm going to drive 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah,
down I-95 from Boston.
Yeah, I've been talking to her
to
for
this
a little
house.
while, and she seemed cool to hang out with. I mean, what the?
You can't find any older girls?
I can, but I had nothing else going on.
So you decided you just come out and hang out with a 13-year-old girl?
Yeah, you can clearly see that I'm very apprehensive about the whole
Let's say we meet and really like each other and want to continue seeing each other. How would we do this? Like I said, as long as you're under 16, age of consent, parenthetically, nobody can know about it. I just can't take that chance. What it sounds like here is you're grooming her, testing her to make sure it would be okay if you had sex with her, so no one would find out.
To be honest with you, like I said, when I was on the way down,
right,
I was thinking about the whole thing, and even before I left,
right,
I was thinking I'm not going to have sex with her unless it's legal.
So you talk about a plan to make it legal, to marry her, right?
Yeah, not in 2 seconds. I mean, like.
So if you liked her, like next week or the week after, you'd marry a 13-year-old girl?
Not next week. No.
So after just a few days worth of chatting, you decide you love her?
No.
You want to have sex with her?
I don't know.
You want to marry her? What do you mean you don't know? She's 13.
I don't know. I was just throwing things out, like, just in case. Maybe I did like her. Maybe it was,
So then you'd marry a 13-year-old girl because she's really cool and you could have sex.
After a while, if it worked out, yeah.
After a while?
Yeah.
What, like 3 years of dating?
I don't know.
A romantic courtship?
Maybe.
Maybe. So you're cool with all this? You just think this is just fine? Marching here to this home.
I know what you're.
Well, what else am I supposed to think, Jeff?
Do I seem like a dishonest, dirty person? I mean, do I seem like it to you?
This chat seems like it. It seems like someone who at 44 years old.
Chat is chat.
Chat is chat, but showing up is showing up. And guess what, Jeff? You showed up. At a home where you knew a 13-year-old girl would be alone. After a sexually charged conversation online. You come in, oh, I want to hug you.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm really nervous.
Oh, you're gonna give me a hug?
No, sorry.
Yeah. The little girl's nervous. You do it with everybody.
Yeah.
You do that every time you meet a 13-year-old girl.
I do it when I meet somebody for the first time.
Okay, but this somebody is not an adult, Jeff. She's 13.
Dude, please tell me who you are.
I'll tell you who.
I'm trying to be nice here.
Okay. So am I. But you're not answering all my questions.
I will. Can you just tell me who you are?
I'm Chris Hansen. And this is an investigation. So if there's anything else you want people to know, anything you want to say, now would be a good time to say it.
I can't believe this happened.
Well, Jeff, believe it. What cops say 44-year-old Jeff Sokol did will disgust every parent in America. In text, he freely talks about marrying a 13-year-old girl. You're almost 14, expletive. You're an adult. As long as you are under 16, age of consent, nobody can know about us. But he's not so forthcoming during my confrontation.
Did you bring any sort of a marriage contract?
No.
So what was all that talk about?
I don't want to talk anymore.
Okay. You can leave.
Can you shut it off?
I cannot shut it off now.
I mean, what is this?
It's an investigation for a television program where we investigate grown people who go online and try to create inappropriate, illegal relationships with underage children.
But in all my years of catching these guys, I've never had an offer like this.
You can take your pizza if you like.
You want a slice?
I'm good, thank you very much. It's very
How about
kind.
you guys? So the cops here?
We'll see.
Sokol isn't getting seconds. His next meal will be in jail.
Come on out. Let's go.
Cops grab him. During the search, cops find a sex enhancement pill, the kind where you call a doctor if it's still working after 4 hours.
Have a seat and slide over to the passenger side, please.
Sokol is placed in the back of an unmarked police car. The cops put his pizza in the trunk. He's hauled off to Fairfield, Connecticut Police Headquarters. Sokol is booked, fingerprinted, and poses for a mugshot. Cops read him his rights.
Anything you say or statements you make may be used against you.
He waives his right to remain silent, and the arrogance he displayed during my confrontation comes out in the police interrogation.
Isn't that all speculation?
To me.
I mean, it's
what's the speculation? I'm looking at this thing. It's like
you're speculating that I was going to have sex with her tonight.
Because that's what you said.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that? Well, tell me what you said.
Well, we talked about having sex, but that doesn't mean...
Isn't that strange?
That doesn't mean I was going to. Tonight.
What's the deal with the marriage certificate? What was that whole conversation? A marriage agreement or a contract you talked about?
Well, I know I was joking at one time when I said, "Is it in the contract?" I was joking.
Was there a mention of like bringing some type? I mean, maybe it was in jest, but did you mention bringing some type of marriage contract or something like that?
No, it wasn't. No, bringing something. No, I was just explaining to her that people can get married by just signing a contract, signing marriage documents.
But you're talking about a 12-year-old girl, right? And it's kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you could 14, probably even
14,
understand.
But yeah, she said she was 14. But okay.
She was 14?
I know, it's young.
Well, we're talking like 12 years old. That's like 6th, 7th grade. You know what I mean? That's a young human being.
I keep saying 12. I don't know.
Well, you want me to use your term and say 14?
I mean, I know that's both young, but it's a little bit, different.
How would it make it okay if you're going to do things with her and she's 13 and you ultimately had relations with her, intercourse, how does it make it legal?
It wouldn't unless her mom consented to marriage. That's the only way it would be legal.
So you're gonna marry a 13-year-old girl with her mother's permission?
Maybe when she's 16, I would do that. Why is that like so hard to believe?
You're 44. I mean, seriously, that's a major league problem.
According to the law, it is.
But according to what? You, it's not?
In my head.
In your head,
knowing what I was there for. Knowing that I was not dangerous, that I was not a threat to her.
The detective then asks Sokol what he would think if he had a daughter, and she was hanging out with a 44-year-old guy.
You're cool with that?
Well, obviously, at first, no.
At first?
Yeah, when they first walk in, it's not going to be cool. But if it was somebody like me, I don't think there's a threat.
Sokol posts $250,000 bail and heads home to Beantown without his now cold pizza.
I have never, out of 315 or 320 in all the investigations, had anyone ever offer me a piece of pepperoni pizza.
Sokol was charged with 3 felony counts: attempted second-degree sexual assault, attempted risk of injury to a minor, and enticing a minor by computer. Fairfield Police Chief Gary McNamara tells me Sokol's talk of marriage contract is a way to rationalize his behavior.
So they look for ways to justify, and this is just another way of him being creative and trying to really justify that.
A marriage contract?
Well, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a marriage contract, could be an official stamp from who knows who. It doesn't matter. It is illegal to have sex with children. It's illegal to communicate you're going to have sex with children.
Sokol pleaded not guilty to all the charges and will stand trial.
You guilty of anything, man?
After a court hearing, he dodged our cameras and ran back inside the courthouse. We saw him sneak out the back door and duck into this restaurant. It's a rainy night in Connecticut, and this 40-year-old guy thinks he is going to cuddle in bed with a 13-year-old girl named Bailey. But in a few minutes, 40-year-old John Dupay will find out that this hookup has no happy ending. Dupay is the latest monster we've caught in our all-new investigative segment, Hansen vs. Predator. We're working with the Fairfield, Connecticut Police and the online predator watchdog group Tetrad Core. They post profiles on apps like Whisper using innocuous pictures of actual underage girls. We're protecting their identities. Dupay contacts not one, but 2 of our decoys. One we'll call Brittany and the other Bailey, hoping to strike up a sexual relationship. This phone call will creep you out.
Hello.
Hey, you.
Hey, baby.
He appears to be so desperate, he would risk a long prison sentence for a night with a 13-year-old. The text messages he sends are even more disturbing. He calls the youngster Baby. Dupay likes to be called Boo.
Hey, Boo. I'm all fresh from the shower.
I wish I smell your body, baby. Baby, I think it's gonna be amazing for me and you when our bodies are touching and I'm inside you and we're kissing. OMG.
Online, Dupay uses fake names like John Santoro and Johnny Connecticut. He's a former mail carrier and says he worked as a package handler at UPS. He claims he's 30, but he's actually 40. He calls Bailey from his cell phone.
Hello.
Hey, Boo. Where are you?
I'm outside.
More than a dozen hidden cameras throughout the Sting house capture his every move. Our fence cam captures him going to the door with a bag of gifts. Our decoy is a 19-year-old theater student who could easily pass for 13. She takes him inside where our kitchen cam records the conversation and my confrontation.
What did you bring?
Presents.
What do you got? Show me.
Chips.
Nice. What kind is it? Thank you.
She asked for snacks, and he's more than happy to oblige. A bag of chips, a caramel-covered chocolate bar, and a giant bottle of iced tea.
It's so nice to finally see you. This is crazy.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm really nervous.
Why?
I don't know, I've never done this. Have you?
No.
So what do you want to do?
A hug?
I don't know.
Hey, Boo.
Hey.
Have a seat right around that stool right there in front of us. No, right there. Please have a seat. Right there. Set the phone down, please. What is your plan here tonight?
Just hang out, watch football?
Hang out and watch football with whom?
With her.
Who's her?
With Bailey.
And do you know how old Bailey is?
She's 14.
14.
Mm-hmm.
She told you she's 13. Not that that matters.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
30.
30.
Dupay is lying. We both know he's really 40. And what he doesn't know is that I have all the transcripts of his sordid conversations with minors. But I'm curious to see if he'll cop to his intentions.
And why would you at 30 think it would be okay to hang out with a 13-year-old girl home alone?
I mean, we just hit it off, friends.
You hit it off with a 13-year-old girl?
We were just talking.
Just talking? Well, now you're here. This is more than talk.
I know, we just came to hang out. You know, I brought...
What, get a hug?
And watch football.
Watch football?
Yep.
Who's playing tonight?
Steelers and the Ravens. I had no intentions with nothing.
No intentions of...
Nope.
So what do you do at UPS?
I was a package handler.
Package handler. You're not there anymore?
No.
What do you do now?
Nothing.
Besides go online and try to talk to young girls?
I don't try to talk to... I mean, I just try to find a girl to talk to and hang out, whatever.
And how many times have you done this with somebody who's 13, 14 years old?
Never.
Never talked to another girl who said she was 13?
No.
Well, who's Brittany?
Who's Brittany?
That was the other girl you were talking to.
When was this?
Within the last few weeks. So you say to Bailey, on Whisper, that you're 30, how old are you? She says 13. You say, you're not 13 in that pic? Yes, I'll be 14 next month. That's pretty clear. You remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do. This does not look very good for you, John. The chat, the appearance, the dark chocolate. Did you bring condoms with you? Not in your pockets?
No.
But you see how this looks.
Absolutely. I mean...
Why don't you just tell me what you were really up to?
Just to hang out, get to know her, you know?
Get to know her?
Yeah.
And if you were the parent of a 13-year-old girl, would you be comfortable with that?
I mean, it depends how, I mean, if I'm a good person, you know, like...
Yeah, but typically good people don't meet strangers online, talk about sex, and then go over to visit, and within 3 minutes, ask for a hug.
I mean, all they did was just ask for, you know, a hello hug, that was it.
With a 13-year-old girl. Walked right in the house.
Well, she told me to come in.
Does that make it right? Knowing that she's 13?
Oh, I wouldn't have never just walked in, you know, without talking to her, you know, without getting her okay.
Now, you talked about spending the night here tonight.
Well,
yes or no?
It depended, you know, like, if she had to wake up in the morning, you know, like, if I was going to stay here.
Did she have to go to school?
She said she didn't have to go to school today. I mean, tomorrow.
So you could just spend the night and hang out with a 13-year-old girl. That's cool.
Well, I mean, I didn't plan on it.
talked about it.
I mean, I was gonna leave after the football game.
Unless you spent the night.
No, I didn't plan on spending the night.
Well, you talked about having cannolis, a little dinner.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were going to have a special little night with your 13-year-old date.
I mean, all I was doing was just coming here to watch the game.
You tried to solicit a 13-year-old girl online using graphic sexual language. What do you think should happen to you?
Sir, I'm not like that and a bad guy.
The pickup line John Dupay used to seduce a 13-year-old girl will turn your stomach.
You tell her, I would love to be the first guy to make you blank if you wanted me to, and I wanted to. Feel me inside you, baby. Has that line ever worked for you before?
No.
Then why do you do that now?
There was no, I mean...
Well, what am I to make of this?
There was no intentions made by it.
That shows clear intent.
He obviously flunked Don Juan 101. Remember, this is the same guy who made that creepy phone call.
Hey, baby.
He then tries a different and equally disgusting approach, bragging about his mad party skills.
And then you talk about that you and a bunch of people snuck into a mansion and partied for days. Where was that mansion?
That was a while ago.
How long ago?
Maybe 8, 9 years ago.
Oh, so it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
How does this look? How does that look? John, you tell me, how does it look? If you were me, what would you think?
That I honestly made a mistake.
That you made a mistake. Well, that's true. And how would you define that mistake?
Not to talk to girls like online.
Or try to come over and have sex with them.
I wasn't trying to come over and have sex with her.
John, you want me to read it again? What do you mean by that? Sounds like sex to me.
I was just playing with her, seeing...
Just playing with her?
Not playing with her, but, you know, just seeing, like, where she was, you know, like...
She was 13.
I mean, I'd never had sex with her. I mean, I didn't plan on coming here to have sex with her.
Tonight, because I walked in.
And I didn't plan on it.
You didn't plan on it? Come on, you talked about it.
Like, that wasn't my intentions. I talked to her all day today about just coming over, watching the game, and just hanging out.
Salads.
About what?
You talked about salads.
About, like, food and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, while we're watching the game.
This is a whole different kind of food here that you're talking about. So what do you think should happen to you, John? You're in a bit of a fix here.
I'm terribly sorry, sir.
Well, there's something you need to know, and that is I'm Chris Hansen, and this is an investigation called Hansen versus Predator.
The look on Dupay's face says it all.
Sir, if you want to leave, you should go out that door right there.
He knows what happens next.
Police, come over. Any weapons?
He's unarmed and put into the back of an unmarked police car. Our dash cam shows him being hauled off to police headquarters where he's booked, fingerprinted, and poses for a mugshot.
Just initial again and sign if you're willing to talk to us.
In the interrogation room, he cries as he signs away his right to remain silent. His forehead is wrinkled with worry as he's about to speak to detectives.
She's a little girl. Do you see that in the pictures? Do you see she's a little girl? Look. If she wanted to have sex tonight, would you have?
No. I swear on my little boy, I wasn't gonna have sex with her. I really wasn't.
Well, then help us understand this. You want her to feel you inside her. I mean, I know what that means to me.
I know. I should never said no like that.
Watch closely and you'll see a classic case of good cop, bad cop in action.
What would have stopped you if she was all over you?
I would have just told her I can't do it.
You told Chris Hansen you were gonna spend the night.
No, I was gonna get picked back up.
Tonight?
Yep.
By sitting here and bullshitting us, which we're not believing, obviously, that you're there to watch a football game is crap.
So you were lying in the text messages?
Huh?
Were you lying to her in the text messages then?
I wasn't gonna have sex with her. I don't even know why I said those things.
He said them in the texts, and that evidence was so overwhelming, DuPay pleaded guilty to 3 felony counts. Attempted second-degree sexual assault, attempted risk of injury to a minor, and attempting to entice a minor in an obscene act.
I was in the other room watching the monitor as John comes in, and we see this from time to time. The potential predator comes in, almost swoops in on the decoy, and it never fails to creep me out.
At his court appearance, other defendants were taunting him. Apparently, even the most hardened criminals think he crossed the line. Maybe an indication of what he can expect in prison. His sentence, 8 years, suspended after serving 3. He also must register as a sex offender.
The chats, in many cases, very graphic. Were you surprised at how graphic these guys got?
Oh, tremendously surprised. Anybody who reads that and anybody who understands what's actually taking place and doesn't get sick to their stomach, I don't know. It is horrible dialogue that's occurring with children, and they know that they're children.
For now, DuPay is locked up. The streets of Connecticut are a little safer. The predators I catch come in all shapes, all sizes, and all ages. Like this creep pushing 60. But Charles Lawrence isn't looking to hook up with a 13-year-old girl. He's looking for a boy.
He says I live alone. Okay, I'm alone.
Lawrence doesn't know it, but he's the latest guy I've caught in our all-new investigative series, Hansen vs. Predator.
We have to have just at least one more communication.
We're working with the cooperation of Fairfield, Connecticut Police and Tetrad Corps, an online predator watchdog group.
So that's it.
In our sting house, we've hidden more than a dozen cameras. We've even placed a microphone underneath a leaf. Lawrence is well educated and apparently very well off. He lives in Fairfield, a jewel of Connecticut's Gold Coast. He's an accountant. He works as a commercial real estate broker. And get this, he lives only 2,000 feet away from our sting house, a quarter mile he probably wishes he never traveled.
Hopefully Lori can get this guy back on the feed. I don't care what she says.
Lori from Tetrad is texting Lawrence as our on-site decoy looks on. On social media, Lawrence calls himself an 8x6 guy. The decoy clearly tells Lawrence his age.
How old are you?
Swear you won't report me?
Of course not.
13.
But when the decoy reveals his supposed age, Lawrence immediately follows up with what seems to be either concern or some unrecognized intuition.
Are you a cop or involved in law enforcement?
LOL. Really?
Gotta be careful.
Yeah, man, I get it.
The conversation quickly becomes sexually charged.
I had sex with my ex-girlfriend, nothing with a guy.
Gotcha. But you like guys better now?
Never tried it, but being with my girlfriend was really awkward.
Apple just released iOS 17 Beta 1 for registered developers, and here are more than 20 standout features that I've been loving so far. By the way, if you want to see every new iOS 17 feature in a much more in-depth video, hit that subscribe button down below because that video is on the way. Before we get into the features, I do also want to mention that the compatible devices are iPhone XR and XS and newer. So if you have an iPhone 10 or iPhone 8, unfortunately, your device is no longer supported with the latest iOS 17 release. All right, let's get into these new features. And the first thing is inside of the Messages application. So we got quite a few additions here, and you'll probably notice right off the bat some of the changes. So first off, we have audio messages now have transcription. So you can see I sent an audio message and it auto-transcribed that in like a second, like pretty much right after I sent it, it transcribed it. You'll also notice this plus button right here on the left-hand corner. And when you tap on that, we have a completely new menu where you can see everything all in one place. And if you swipe up, you can see more. So you can see all your applications here. You can see also a brand new feature that I really love called Check-In. And when you tap on that, it shows you what this feature is about. Let your friend know you've arrived with Check-In. Your friend will be notified automatically when you get to your destination, and your iPhone will also keep up with your progress. And this is great so you can know if your friend is potentially in trouble, because it says you'll be prompted and you have 15 minutes to respond if you are not making progress towards your destination. And if you tap on continue, you can choose the data you would like to share with maybe a parent, a significant other, a friend. You can do all of that straight within here. So you can see we have a limited option, which includes current location and details about battery and network signal, and full, which includes all limited data, plus route traveled and location of last iPhone unlock and Apple Watch removal. So very in-depth stuff you get here. So I go ahead and tap on full and continue. It says your friend is notified when you send the check-in, when they arrive, and also you are delayed and do not respond when prompted. So when you send a check-in, I do not have a SIM card or cell service in this phone, but you kind of get the point of how check-in works. It is great for those who want to kind of track their friends and make sure they get home safely. You might have also noticed in that little menu over there that we have this stickers button, and stickers have some additions here as well. So we've had stickers for a while where you can kind of just stick things onto messages to react to them, but now we have where you can use your own photos to create what's called live stickers. So if you go here and go to new sticker, I'm just going to select a photo. So I'll just select this photo of a dog, and you can see it outlines the subject. So you can choose which one you want to use. So I'll just use this one right here. So we'll just tap and hold on that and then add sticker. I guess it didn't get that guy out of the picture, but anyways, if you tap on this, you can see you can now have that as a sticker. You can insert it into the chat, or you can tap and hold and drag it on top of something to react to that message. iOS 17 also improves the autocorrect. So now when you type a word in wrong and your iPhone autocorrects it, you will get a temporary underline so you know what's being changed, and you can also tap on it to go back to what the original word was. So no more ducking mistakes in the keyboard. You'll also see we have predictive text here as well built into the keyboard. So if I start typing what is up, it will recommend what the next word is. And of course it will learn by how you type what to predict for, what you're going to type next. So that is now built in to the keyboard in iOS 17. Another big change that you're going to notice right away after installing iOS 17 is contact posters. And this changes how incoming calls look on your device. So you can see this is what it looks like when somebody is calling with these all new contact posters. It just shows the name up top and an image of whatever you select. It's kind of like the lock screen that we saw with iOS 16, but now when incoming calls are coming in, you will see that, and same with FaceTimes. And you can see when you answer it, it still shows that image in the background with the name up there, and all the buttons are overlaid on that. So it looks really nice and really modern. And to customize this for somebody, you just need to go into the contacts, go to that contact's name, and then go to edit, add photo, just like you normally would, and then choose a photo or a Memoji. I'm just going to choose a Memoji for this. We'll select my Memoji right there. We'll select a little look right there. So we'll do that. Tap on next. So we're going to choose that as the image, and then we're going to go next, and then you can see it shows what the poster will look like right there. But if you don't like that, you can customize the poster, and you can kind of customize what you would like to see there. If you wanted to change the photo, if you wanted to change it to a monogram, you can do all that, and we'll just skip on that for now. So now when Mike J calls, I will get what you just saw in that preview and what I showed earlier on the incoming call. The default wallpaper for iOS 17 looks like this. It looks awesome, but it also changes when you go into dark mode. So you can see that is the dark mode version of the iOS 17 wallpaper. Very cool. Another feature that stood out to me was the ability to share AirTags with up to 5 people. So you can see when you go to your AirTag, you have a new option here for share this AirTag. When you tap on add person, you get this, share this AirTag. Others can locate this AirTag, and it says tracking notifications will be muted. If you tap on continue, you can choose who you want to share that AirTag with. Now you may have already been looking at my home screen and noticing, but yes, we now have interactive widgets with iOS 17. We've been asking for this for years now, for many years. Since like iOS 14, we've been asking for interactive widgets, and now we have it. So you will see for music, for example, we have the play button that has an outline there. And if we tap on that, it will start playing the music, and you can pause it from there as well. And for example, for the home application, you can see all of my HomeKit devices. I can turn those on or off just by tapping on them. I don't need to go into the application anymore to perform the actions. That is extremely handy and nice. And this is also on iPadOS 17 as well. And then going back to music, a big new feature, a big new change in iOS 17 is that we now have Crossfade. Crossfade is back in Apple Music, and you will also notice that the little now playing bar at the bottom looks different. It's much more thin and lightweight, but we now have Crossfade in iOS 17. You just need to go into your settings to enable that, but a warning about beta 1, when you enable that and then you go into the settings for Apple Music, it crashes, but the Crossfade does work once you enable that. And speaking of music, that also gets better with iOS 17 because of SharePlay. So there's a new feature with SharePlay where others can control the music in CarPlay. So others can kind of, play the music on the head unit in the car just with their iPhone as long as they're on iOS 17. They can also adjust and mess with the playlist. You can customize the playlist as well without having to actually, initiate a call or anything like that. Now, this is one of my favorite features in iOS 17, and this is called Standby Mode. And this is available for all iOS 17 devices. You do not need to have an always-on display. And what this does is essentially turns your iPhone into the perfect nightstand companion. So you can see, as long as you're on a charger and in landscape mode and your device is locked, you will see this right here. So you can see it shows the calendar. Oops, must have got off the charger there. It'll show the calendar and it will show different things going on. You can customize these widgets as well. So it is a little bit finicky since it is beta 1. So we have the clock and the calendar, and if you swipe over, you will see that we have a randomly selected image along with the time. And if you swipe over again, you have a different type of clock. This looks like one that's maybe meant for, when you're going to sleep. But if you tap and hold right here, you can see you can go through the different types of widgets you can have here. So solar, world, analog, digital, you have all these different clocks to choose from, but you also have widgets to choose from as well. So if we go back and go to right here where we have the calendar and all this, you tap and hold on this, you will see that we have a very similar interface to what we get on the home screen with Smart Rotate, widget suggestions, and you can see you have these different things that you could add in to here. So if we tap on the plus in the top left, you can add batteries, you could add books, calendar, you can add all of these things in here. So if I add home, for example, home controls, add that, tap on done, we can see my home controls there right now. So again, this makes for like the perfect bedside companion, the perfect companion when you're working and you're at home and you just have your device stuck to, an accessory like this and it's in landscape mode. It's really great to have this feature on iOS 17. And you can customize this in settings as well. So if you go to your settings, you can see we have an all new menu item for standby. It's just a black and white icon. If you tap on that, you can turn it on. So you have a master kill switch. You also have always on. So it says when always on is enabled, the display will intelligently turn off when not in use. When attention is detected, iPhone will not sleep the display. So that's really cool. And then you do also have night mode. You can also use motion to wake as well. So it says standby will turn on the display when motion is detected at night. Super cool. Another standout feature that I haven't used just yet is that autofill verification codes that are received in mail work just like they do with text messages. So if you get like a one-time verification code as an email instead of as a text message, that will now also be filled in automatically so you can log in without ever leaving Safari, whether that's a text message or an email. Another standout feature in iOS 17 is inside of our Siri and search settings. And you will notice up top where it says listen for, there's something new there. It says listen for Siri or Hey S. So you can now drop the Hey in Hey S if you have this first option selected. Now, if you select this, it does say that certain headphones do require you to still say the Hey part, but you can now activate Siri without saying the Hey part. So let me try that. Siri, what time is it? What day is it? What time is it in California? So notice how I didn't have to ask Siri each time. I didn't have to say Siri's name to get another response. That is also new in iOS 17. It's called back-to-back requests, and you're now able to, ask multiple questions in just kind of one time of activating Siri, which is really nice. If you go into the Safari application, you will notice a big change when you go into the tab view. So you will see at the bottom now, we have private, we have our tabs, and then we have our tab groups right here. So it's easy to go into different tab groups and also into private tabs. Now you'll also notice that private browsing is locked, and that's because you now need a password to use private browsing. So if I do this, you can see that it unlocks it, and now I'm able to go into a private window. And you also have advanced tracking and fingerprinting protection. So it says helps prevent websites from tracking or identifying your device using advanced techniques. And also we have enhanced extension control. So it says extensions with website access are off by default, and they can be turned on later in settings. So that is all new in private browsing specifically. Now in settings, you can disable that. So if you don't want to have Face ID to unlock private browsing, you can turn that off right there. But above that, we also have another new feature in Safari for profiles. So it says profiles can help you keep your Safari info separate, like favorites, history, and tabs. So you can now have different profiles. Basically, if you have maybe, multiple users on a device, you can now have profiles that are set for each person in Safari. If you go into Safari and you go down to passwords, you will see up top we have family passwords, and this allows you to share passwords and passkeys with your family. Now, if you tap on Get Started, it shows you that you can add trusted contacts, you can choose what you share, and you could also remove anybody at any time from having access to that password or passkey. And when you tap on Continue, this is where you can add people, either loved ones, significant others, friends, whatever you want to add, you can add them right there just by tapping on Add People. Now, easily one of the best features in iOS 17 is something I've not been able to get work yet, but it is Name Drop. This allows you to bring your phone nearby and use AirDrop to transfer your contact details to somebody else. So now, once everybody gets on iOS 17, you're not going to have to text the person your name, and they're not going to have to text you their name back, so you guys have each other's contact information. You're now just going to be able to tap phones with each other, and you're going to be able to transfer each other's contact information with a tap of a phone. So that is called Name Drop. Awesome name for that feature, and also just a very useful feature as well. And then also with AirDrop, you can now bring your phone close together to initiate a transfer via AirDrop. But again, I've tried that here. I have 2 devices on iOS 17, but I've not been able to get that to work. But you will see in the AirDrop section, you do have a new little section down here that shows what you appear as. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is that live voicemail has been added to iOS 17. So what this means is that you can now view a real-time transcription of the message that somebody is leaving you as they speak. So if somebody calls you, you don't answer, they decide to leave a message, you'll be able to see as they're speaking what they're saying in your voicemail section. And let me just tell you, I have found a lot of other new features and changes in iOS 17, but I'm gonna save those for my big iOS 17 video. So if you wanna see that, hit that subscribe button down below. You will not regret it. But if you guys enjoyed this quick little video on the iOS 17 standout features, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. And again, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future iOS 17 videos. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Kirby. This pink puffball has been sucking his way through the denizens of Dreamland since 1992. He has his own games, manga, TV series, and toys. It's safe to say he's one of Nintendo's most trusted mascots. But he should not be trusted. The problem with Kirby is that he is simultaneously Nintendo's simplest and most powerful creature. Those two realities cannot coexist. He is a life form with neither the ambition nor the intelligence to make decisions, and yet the world bends to his will. Although it appears that Kirby is just a vacuous pastel marshmallow, there must be some hidden wisdom that grants him the power he wields. There has to be. Kirby's incongruity is terrifying, but that's only because we are terrified of things we do not yet understand. And today, we are going to understand. Scientia potentia est. Knowledge is power. Humankind's attempts to harness the powers of the natural world come from intense research and understanding of those powers. And yet Kirby is granted powers well beyond his station. What powers, you ask? Allow me to show you. I have created 2 columns here, simplicity and power. What Kirby is versus what Kirby can do. By mapping the dichotomy of these 2 columns, we can peel back the facade of Kirby's simplicity and figure out what's really going on. Because again, this is not normal. Let's begin with simplicity. Most people know Kirby as that cute little round guy, but is there more to him? According to official, canonical information, no. Like his simplistic appearance, he is an easily understood character. True to his instincts, Kirby eats when he gets hungry and sleeps as soon as he grows tired. Does this sound like an apex predator? Even a bear enjoys a satisfying back scratch. This sounds like the lowest form of life. Someone who is stuck on the base of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He wakes up, eats his caloric intake for the day, and falls asleep watching the Great British Bake Off. And yet over here on the power column, the things Kirby eats are completely obliterated. Not just converted into something else, completely gone. Kirby only cares about eating and sleeping, and yet he gains no energy nor pleasure from consuming these things. Instead, he just lets them disappear, gone from this plane of existence. So, what the fuck? Kirby doesn't speak a language beyond saying the words Poyo and hi. Kirby mostly communicates via body language and grunts. Even toddlers are more communicative. By all accounts, he is either incapable of or uninterested in speaking language. And yet, Kirby is an incredibly skilled technician. We see Kirby piloting mechs, and if anime is to be believed, and I believe anime, this can only be accomplished by gifted teens grappling with psychosexual ennui. He can effortlessly turn himself into a fighter jet, something that only the most skilled Air Force engineers have mastered. How can he understand these complex mechanical processes without having the language skill to read a textbook or the I Fucking Love Science Facebook page? Kirby's origins are vague. Let me take a moment to move over to a different board so I can show you Kirby's origin story. There's nothing here! Very little is known about Kirby's origin. He has no canonical species. He has no canonical age. Masahiro Sakurai, Kirby's alleged creator, has stated that he does not remember how Kirby got his name. Kirby was originally a placeholder sprite, set to be replaced by something more. But no, Kirby survived. Kirby came from nothing, and Kirby is nothing. Or is he everything? Because Kirby can be anything. His copy ability gives him the powers and appearance of any creature he consumes, but copy is a misnomer. He does not duplicate his enemies. He assimilates and replaces them. In Smash, he takes the power of his foes and then the foe is released as a sign of respect. But in every other iteration of Kirby, the thing he consumes is destroyed in the process. Does he absorb their DNA? Does he absorb their memories? Is he the keeper of their souls? All of these abilities point to Kirby being intelligently designed, which we know is not the case. Sakurai fucking woke up in a crop circle with the name Kirby carved into his arm. Kirby has no emotional intelligence. In the anime, Kirby seems to harbor no ill will toward King Dedede and Escar Goon, his main two antagonists. He faces baby birds and full battalions of soldiers with the same vacant grin. He eats and destroys indiscriminately, but counts no one among his enemies. But those that count him among theirs are cosmic horrors. Look at this thing. Look at this thing! These celestial powers probably have wants and needs far beyond our human comprehension, and yet they trouble themselves with the destruction of Kirby, a barely living kickball. What do they see in Kirby that scares them? What could scare this? And the final simple evidence, Kirby is shaped like a friend. First draw a circle, then you dot the eyes. Add a great big smile, and presto, it's Kirby. This was the opening of Kirby's adventure. Let me show you something. What did you notice? That's right. For the entire time I was drawing this, I wasn't interrogating the true nature of Kirby. This quote is cute and simple and a blatant misdirection. It is a patronizing errand meant to keep people like me from uncovering the truth. The truth that Kirby possesses infinite power. And that is a quote Planet Robobot explicitly states that Kirby possesses infinite power. Kirby can ride a star. Kirby can punch through a planet. Kirby is the only being in the entirety of the universe that survived the Galeem Cataclysm. A circle survived. This survived. How? Now that we have addressed these two columns, it is time to bridge the gap. How can we reconcile the two canonical truths of Kirby, that he is both nothing and everything? How can this sentient garbage bag accomplish so much? Let me tell you. I don't know. I literally have no clue how this dumb fucking orb can have so much power. I have worked my whole life researching and gaining knowledge, and this dipshit sphere sleeps all day and has powers that gods fear. And that's impossible. It should be impossible. There has to be an answer here, and I don't see it, and that's not fair! If knowledge is power, then power should be knowledge, and Kirby is everything, and he should know everything, and yet we know nothing! I can't think in here. I'm going outside. How do I get outside? Kirby. The mystery of this florid Dreamlandian has baffled me, but I've taken a few months, and I've collected my thoughts, and I'm back in the studio to deliver my findings. Kirby's incongruity is terrifying, but that's only because we are terrified of things we do not yet understand. And today, for real, we are going to understand. If you'll recall from our first exploration of the Rosy Nightmare, the problem with Kirby is that he is both incredibly simple and incredibly powerful. In the intervening 5 months, I've learned a few pieces of information that contradict a few of my points. First, Kirby can speak a language. There was a drama CD released in Japan in 1994 where Kirby speaks full sentences. But in this, he says that a phone is mysterious and he doesn't know how it works. And yet he can pilot a mech. 2, Kirby's name does in fact have a backstory, even if Sakurai was too fucking zooted to remember it. Kirby was named after John Kirby, a lawyer who passed away last year who defended Nintendo's right to copyright Donkey Kong back in the 80s. But this doesn't make the rest of Kirby's origin any less vague, and it doesn't change the fact that a creature cannot possibly embody both of these truths. But that's the problem. I've been thinking of Kirby as a creature. Consider for a moment Moby Dick. You might receive this book in your English class and say, hell yeah, a big ol' whale? I can't wait to see Ahab level up and hit that big boy right in his weak points. And sure, he puts his harpoon up in Moby D's flanks, but spoiler alert, Ahab gets got, even though he's been grinding for like years, and Pale Whale's just a dipshit fish with a thing for sailor feet. And so you say this to Miss Mahoney, and she's like, Brian, don't you get it? The whale is a metaphor for something, and then you write that on your final exam, and you pass the class. This is what I like to call the bookman's bluff. It's when an author creates something and people are like, hey, that doesn't make sense, but then the author says, well, it does make sense if you consider it's actually a metaphor. Here, I believe that Sakurai is pulling a bookman's bluff. Kirby, like Moby Dick, doesn't make sense as a creature, but he will make sense as a metaphor. So what does Kirby symbolize? Let's take a look at some common metaphors. Let's start with the 7 deadly sins, since everyone and their mother is basing characters on them. Unfortunately, none of them really make sense for Kirby. Wrath, no way. Greed, he's not in it for the money. I'm gonna skip over lust. You could make an argument for gluttony because he eats a lot. Sloth, he sleeps a lot. And envy, he's constantly copying other people. But he never does it with any malice. Kirby does these things haphazardly, without any sense of what he's doing. And then there's pride. Now, pride is the sin from which all other sins arise, and its punishment in hell is being broken upon the wheel. But Kirby is a wheel, so that ain't gonna work. But Kirby might symbolize someone else's pride. the hubris of humanity. Think about it. Has humanity ever paused to consider that perhaps our endless consumption may not be a good move for the world as a whole? Have we altered our course, or simply continued to eat and sleep and copy others without any thought of the repercussions? In fact, perhaps we can go one step further. Kirby is a metaphor for capitalism. Does our capitalist society assimilate and destroy? Absolutely. Technical and cultural appropriation are two of capitalism's most trusted tools. When it comes to a lack of emotional intelligence, capitalism makes people willing to suck in and obliterate anything, friend or foe, nation or natural wonder, so long as it makes money. Is capitalism's enemy a cosmic horror? What could be more cosmically horrifying to a capitalist society than a guy called Marx? Kirby is a metaphor for capitalism. Sure, capitalism could sometimes be more cruel in its intentions than Kirby can manage. I'll take that. Also, it sure as hell feels like it could burn out at any second, so the infinite power thing, not 100% true. And it's hard to describe capitalism as being shaped like a friend. And the whole eating and sleeping only it doesn't really make sense because we have a hyperfixation on productivity and that being tied to our worth. So this is not a very good metaphor, is it? In fact, most of these metaphors are bullshit, especially this one. I thought I could take 5 months and pause and contemplate, and then I'd come back and I'd have the perfect explanation for the dichotomy of Kirby, but nothing has changed. This horrifying bolus slips through my fingers again. Maybe I'm just not good at this. Jenna, I need you to keep my papers and push pins safe. I'm gonna go away for a while. I'm gonna find Kirby. I went to the woods because I wished to front only the essential facts of Kirby. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, just as Kirby might suck a Waddle Dee into his gullet. I've been at it for a while now. Judging by the length of my beard, I've been living out here for 2, maybe 3 years. There are no pinboards in the forest. I don't have 3 cameras to catch my every side glance. They don't teach you It's just me and nature, which has reduced me to my base instincts. I only care about finding food and shelter, eating and sleeping. I am become Kirby. I wish I could say this has given me a clear mind, but no. Nature has broken me. I am confounded by it, and we are terrified of things we do not yet understand. Kirby is nature, I thought, after spending my first day out in the woods. Sure, nature's origins are still murky, and what is evolution if not a really, really slow form of Kirby's copy ability? And much like Kirby, nature is neither cruel nor kind. It doles out boons and punishments indiscriminately. For every delicious handful of berries, it also gives a completely unrelated bout of diarrhea. But it took me only a few days to realize that this was another dead end. Nature doesn't destroy matter or possess infinite power, and its enemy is not a cosmic horror, it's us. I'm sorry for using so much paper. So I went back to the proverbial drawing board and have been stuck there ever since. Nature is still terrifying to me, and it is certainly not shaped like a friend. How can Kirby live like this and stay so joyful? How can he only care about his base needs and conquer any enemies that come before him? I can't conquer anything, not even the mystery of a character from a children's game. All I can do is tumble listlessly through the wood, like a star spat from Kirby's maw. I awake one morning upon the shore of a strange sea. I do not know where I am, nor how I came to be here. The sea stretches endlessly in front of me, revealing the gentle, Kirby-like curve of the planet, and I finally understand. I was so focused on investigating the inner machinations of this bulbous boy that I never asked why I was investigating. I am tormented with an everlasting itch for things to mean something, but Kirby didn't need an explanation. I did. There is no bullet point or FanWiki entry. Kirby is not nature or a metaphor. Kirby doesn't need a dark backstory or logical rationale. Kirby is just Kirby. As I stand here watching the waves lap against the sand, miles away from civilization, I realize I'm not simply standing on the edge of the ocean, but the edge of the world. A world I've accepted without knowing its hidden meaning. Perhaps there is no hidden meaning. Perhaps it's better that way. Perhaps it's time for me to go home. First, you draw a circle. Then, you dot the I's, add a great big smile, and presto, it's Kirby. Kirby is an extremely strong circle. And that's all the explanation I need. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Diddy Kong. Who gave him a gun? Did he build the jetpack? That doesn't make any sense. He's a monkey. What is he? Why does he have such... Oh, yeah. This is satisfying. If you want to get in on this, you want to roll... Just put that in a bunch of dirt right now. I'm going to roll around a little bit. Oh, incredible.
Are we gonna ride on the train like this to Coney Island?
Yeah, maybe. It seems you have caught me having a bit of a midnight snack. Thank you very much for joining me today. I am here to open the gates to your mind. I am here to bring you into the dark delights of being a midnight gourmand. What is a midnight gourmand, I hear you asking? Well, it's the way that I feel whenever it gets a little too late in the evening and I'm feeling a little bit peckish. But I don't want to just get any treat. Okay, look, I'm talking about that moment when you've passed the threshold of what is acceptable for me to eat, and you start going into the what is possible for me to eat. I'm taking off the robe! This is not what I normally am doing when I'm midnight gourmanding. Normally, when I'm getting into this zone, I am in my full cozies. My hair is up out of my face, so that way it's not getting up in my food. Yeah. Hey. The thing that changes it from a midnight snack into a midnight gourmand experience, there are 3 parameters. The first one is it has to be a healthy effort. When I'm in my midnight gourmand set, I want to do about 4 to 6 out of 10 on the effort scale. I'm not trying to make a thing that uses sous vide, and also I gotta deep fry something, and also I'm gonna have to clean a whole colander. I'm not gonna use a colander once today, okay? That's a promise. That's a promise. Parameter number 2, nearby ingredients. Here's a common conversation I have in my household at 11:15. Hello, Brian. Do you want to go to the grocery store? It's 11:15 p.m. No, I don't. That is an important aspect of being a midnight gourmand, is making sure that you can make things out of stuff you already have. Parameter number 3 might be the most important. It's culinary exploration. When you are in the dark recesses of night, anything goes. If you think it's worth a try, give it a try. You don't need this for sustenance. This is an extra little bonus. So if it's bad, you could just throw it away. For example, there's this thing in Baltimore where you have half a lemon and then you stick a soft peppermint stick in it and then you suck the lemon juice through it, and it's delicious and it's fantastic. And so I tried to buy those things, but then I bought harder peppermint sticks where you couldn't actually suck the lemon juice out of it. So I said, you know what? It's 11:30. I'm gonna just squeeze this lemon into a bowl and then crush up the peppermint sticks and then put it in the bowl. I'm gonna eat it like cereal, and it was not so good. It was a solid 3 out of 10. Don't do that. It was bad. That's not one of the recipes I'm gonna be telling you today.
3 out of 10 seems high.
But I did eat it all.
That's true.
Healthy effort, nearby ingredients, and culinary exploration. These 3 parameters are going to take your midnight snack and turn it into a midnight gourmand creation. If you're having trouble remembering them, just go ahead and use the handy acronym NICE. I'm gonna kind of teach you 3 recipes, but what I'm more interested in teaching you is 3 different ways to ideate. And then you can make anything using these 3 springboards. The first is decadent sauces. The second is the triumvirate of endless possibilities. And the third is resurrecting the leftovers. Number 1.
Decadent sauces.
I go wild for this snack. Absolutely bonkers for this snack. I'm about to blow your mind right now with something I like to call cucumber.
Oh.
I will say, I did steal this directly from a fancy restaurant, which I won't name because I don't feel like it. And they had a whole array of cucumbers that had big, flaky, crunchy salt on it. And I said, this is fantastic. And then I also said, I can do this at home. It's not that hard to cut a cucumber. This is a great way to practice your knife skills, and by knife skills, I mean you just cut it into basic shapes. It's not that exciting. And what you're doing basically right now is making pre-pickles. I personally love to use a big old chunky salt because I just think it looks nice. It's great on its own, but what you need to do is make a fancy sauce. The only thing you need other than a cutting board and a knife is a spatula and something special I like to call a bowl. It's called a bowl. Let's talk about my favorite thing to eat this with. A little tahini, a little bit of yogurt, a little bit of gochujang. Oh, I forgot, I need lemon juice.
I'm gonna throw it.
She's gonna throw it. I'm gonna be better at catching it this time. I was. When I'm making sauces, I'm trying to have something a little bit creamy, a little bit spicy, a little bit salty, a little bit acidic to help cut through it, and something super savory. The first time I bought tahini, I just ate it straight, and I was like, whoa! Wow! Tahini is something you mix with other things to make it work better. I like to use a really thick yogurt whenever I'm making this. I use Sigis a lot. I'm not sponsored by Sigis. I'm just a simp. So I got about 1.5 cups of yogurt in here, and then I'm gonna pop in the tahini to taste. I would say you could probably just use a tablespoon. Actually, let's put in like 2 tablespoons. If you're cooking for yourself, I have to say the best thing to do is taste everything all the time. I think it needs a little bit more. It needs 3 tablespoons. Maybe like a 1/2 cup. Let's call this like a solid 1/2 cup of tahini. So now I got 2 super dense things in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and add another dense thing in here, which is gochujang. About a heaping tablespoon of it probably will be fine. Great, 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 great. Now you got 3 super intense flavors in here. So what I like to do is, again, bring in a little bit of that acid with just a solid skosh of lemon juice. That was like 2 teaspoons. I don't measure. I'm being a midnight gourmand. Ooh, I like that, but it needs a little more lemon. The lemon is the big thing that helps brighten this whole thing. That's good. That's good. You know what? I've changed my mind. I don't think it needs garlic. Well, everything needs a little garlic. We'll just give this a try today. Maybe it'll be too much. Maybe it'll be perfect. Let's give it a shot. And then, as always, just a tiniest bit, a little pinch of kosher salt. That was a hefty pinch. And then a little cracked pepper. Now I just mix that all up, and let's see what we're working with here. Did I make something okay as a midnight gourmand? There's some heat in that. Maybe just stick with the tahini and just a smaller bit of the gochujang. But that being said, I'm getting another bite in here. Is that good? That tasty? As long as Karen says it's good. The thing about this meal is that it's so perfect for midnight snacking. It's got all the textures and the vast array of flavors that you could possibly want. There's a lot of great things you can do with sauces. Just mix them all together. There's nothing better than that, and having some vegetables, and you'll feel better about the fact that you're just snacking on veggies all night. Okay, it's time for hair clip number 2. Magnificent. Let's talk about the triumvirate of endless possibilities. These 3 ingredients are a perfect place to start on your midnight gourmand journey because you can mix them together in as many different ways as you possibly want, and they are gonna turn out pretty dang okay. But what they are rice, eggs, and Spam. I made fresh rice. Let me see, how's it looking? Whoa, surprise! Brian made rice before, you didn't even realize. Just make this the reddest, most uncomfortable video as possible. Because whenever I'm in the kitchen, it's a stressful experience. Oh God, get the rice! No, wrong rice! This rice! Oh my Lord! Oh God! Don't look at that! Don't look at that, Karen! A little more than that. I'm using my finger to tell how big it is. I'm going back into the other space now. Okay. Play that funky music, rice cooker. Let's talk about fresh hot rice. I'd say 1 big paddle, maybe 1.5 paddles of rice. That'll be, I think, the perfect amount for 1 egg. Oh, you can... Shell bowl, thank you, Karen. Wow, you've got all the bases covered. This rice is still wicked hot, so all I gotta do, take this egg, crack it on in there, and then just literally whisk it all up. And then the residual heat of that rice is gonna make this so good. I could probably put more rice in here, actually. Give me more rice. Eep. Ah, don't look at this. I'm making a mess. Jeremy, don't show my foolish ways. Make me look smart and handsome. Jeremy, please make me look smart and handsome. And now what we're gonna do is get prepped for a Spam musubi. This is Best By, April 2025. Whenever I cut my Spam, I like to have it be just thick enough. Just enough to get real crispy. The rest of this will go in the fridge, and I will eat all of it soon. Now it's time for me to use this induction cooker. Yeah, it's because it's electricity and magnets. This is looking good. The thing is, Spam doesn't need to get